Giants Stadium in the Meadowlands, where the New York Giants, coming off 2 strong victories in a row, take on the New Orleans Saints, who are off to their usual bumpy start. Also live, you're looking at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, where the winless Eagles play host to the unbeaten Los Angeles Rams. Nothing is ailing the Rams' big man on offense, Eric Dickerson. He's averaging more than 130 yards a game. We are now live at the Orange Bowl in Miami. It's the Dolphins against the San Francisco 49ers. The Miami main man, Dan Marino, is once again the leading passer in the NFL, but the enemy within is the Dolphin defense. They have given up more points than Marino's great arm has put on the scoreboard. And finally, you are looking live at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, where the Bengals clash with the Super Bowl champion, Chicago Bears. On the field, it's 110 degrees. Earlier this week, Coach Mike Ditka called his Bears a high school team, and that prompted Chicago's high-spirited quarterback to dress the part. But today, Jim McMahon is in proper uniform, and he's expected to play after a 2-week layoff.
McMahon won't be the only character on the field in Cincinnati today. Bengal coach Sam White also likes to play tricks, and I found out this week that he doesn't always play fair. You'll see what I mean.
I hear from football fans all the time. That's part of my job. And this week, I've heard a lot of complaints about the new instant replay. But today, we want to hear what you all think about it. All that and more coming up on the NFL Today.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the NFL Today. Irv Cross, Week 4. Nice to have you back from your travels.
Well, it's good to be back, Brent, but I can hardly wait to show you what happened to me in Cincinnati this week.
All right, Dan. Will McDonough, you've been working on instant replay all week.
The pressure's been enormous all week here, Brent. We can't wait for Jimmy to give us this over and under for all those fans that were complaining to him.
21,000 will be the figure.
That's how many are going to call our poll today?
Absolutely.
Well, let's bring the fans in. Now, the question we're going to ask today is, should instant replay be used in the NFL? Now, that's the question we're going to ask today in our CBS Sports poll. You cast your vote by dialing the number listed next to the category of your choice. There is a charge of 50 cents per call, and we're going to see how the fans are voting at halftime and on the NFL Today. Yes in its current form, 900-220-2711. Yes in a revised form, perhaps the way the USFL did it, 900-220-2722, and no, throw it out, 900-220-2733. If Jimmy's right on his number, the phone company's going to get rich today. Now,
500.
2 weeks ago, Joe Montana underwent surgery for a ruptured disc, and at first it was feared that his brilliant football career might be over. But this week, in an exclusive interview with the NFL Today, Joe talked about his recovery in ways that could only cheer the hearts of San Francisco fans.
I would probably have to wait and see whether I felt that I could take that punishment, and it would all have to do with my rehabilitating. And he thought if I went about it correctly that there was no reason why I shouldn't be able to come back and play. The doctor seems to think if everything goes well, I could be back with 4 or 5 games left, and whether they want to waste a move on me at that time, I don't know.
Since leaving the hospital, Joe has been convalescing at home with his wife Jennifer at his side.
I really haven't had any pain, so to speak. It's more been a discomfort than anything. I haven't had any shooting pains or the type of pain that I had in my leg. I still have the numbness, but not the pain that was there before the surgery. He said it would take 4, maybe 8 weeks, maybe a little longer before I totally got all the feeling back in my leg and foot.
For the time being, Joe has to be content in the role of a rocking chair quarterback. Joe, what about Jeff Kemp?
I think Jeff's been playing well, and it's probably more motivation to try to come back.
Brent, even if he does come back and he does play well, I still think San Francisco will try to make a trade and get a quarterback next year. They are loaded. They have 2 1s and 2 2s, and I think the guy they'll go for, if they can do it, is Testaverde.
I'll tell you one thing. So will Green Bay and 20 other teams in the NFL who need a quarterback. He will be bid high.
Especially if they were watching yesterday, gentlemen. I'll tell you, wasn't Miami something against Oklahoma? All right, the NFL Today top 10. Let's make Testaverde number 1 and make his defense number 2. That's how tough they were. Oh, there was a fight late in the going, and it got a little nasty for a time over there. One thing, don't start a fight on the other team's sideline, as this one broke out over there after Miami had intercepted a pass. That's blades going up over the top. Now, you'll see an Oklahoma player with his helmet off. Helmet off in a fight, he should lose his scholarship, or of course, you never do that in a football fight. What's he thinking of out there? Now, this one could have turned very ugly. But fortunately, they broke it up. Now, watch Jerome Brown, 98. He's surrounded, and he came around, and he patted them, and he said, I want to get out of there. And he was the smartest fellow of them all. So that's our top 5. And now, the next 5 on our top 10. Michigan, USC, Arizona, Iowa. And Jimmy the Greek will tie the Raiders with Northwestern. I get equal billing with your Raiders today.
Thank you very much.
Now listen, your Super Bowl teams are 0-6. You want to pick two more?
Uh-huh.
Who would you like?
Raiders in San Francisco.
All right, the NFL Today will continue on CBS in just a moment. That Greek is fired up today. The Chicago Bears in Cincinnati, Jimmy, and the Bears are healthy now.
No question. Here comes McMahon. All the team is back. The Bears are healthy. But if there's any one game that Cincinnati is going to win, it should be this one. McMahon is rusty. My man Wally Payton had a hard game against Green Bay. It's going to be close, Brent.
By the closest of margins. The Bears will prevail, 27-26, according to the Greek. Jimmy, the Giants, without Joe Morris, New Orleans, do they have enough?
Yes, they still have enough because they've got the better quarterback. The special teams are just as good. They're just a little bit better than New Orleans in every position, Brent. But New Orleans is a coming team.
All right, the Greek says the Giants will win this one, 24-13. Now, how about the Dolphins against San Francisco?
I tell you, the thing about the Dolphins is that they're worried more about themselves. What I'm worried about is I like San Francisco, and I'm worried about the Heat the second half because nobody ever seems to beat Miami in September at the Orange Bowl. San Francisco will prevail.
All right, the Greek likes an upset here. Now let's check the rest of the games. Ooh, New England over Denver out in Colorado.
They can't make 5 mistakes again this week.
The Jets over Indianapolis.
Too strong.
Kansas City over Buffalo.
Outside of one position, Kansas City's the better team.
And another upset, Seattle over Washington.
It's close, but I like Seattle.
The Rams over Philadelphia. Interesting here. Remember Buddy Ryan at the playoffs last year? He said, Eric Dickerson, nothing. We'll get him.
I'll tell you, today he'll do 150 to 170 yards.
Revenge for great Eric. Houston over Pittsburgh.
They're at home.
Cleveland over Detroit.
Tougher than what you may think, though.
And Minnesota over Green Bay.
Green Bay shot everything against the Bears last week.
Atlanta over Tampa Bay.
Yes.
Dallas over St. Louis.
They're still hurt, St. Louis.
Jimmy, there's a game missing on those boards. What about your Raiders against San Diego in the Coliseum?
No, I'm going to let that one up to you, Brent. I tell you, I want to pass this one.
Well, I'll pick the Raiders to win for the first.
Well, I knew you would, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I got a present for you.
Hey, huh? Look at that, huh? The Raider jersey. All right. That's very good, Greek.
I knew you'd come to the Raiders.
Yeah, that's good. All right, we'll take a look at instant replay when we continue on.
Loud and clear. Now this is going to be a test. Through the course of the game, when you're paying...
Well, the chief topic today is instant replay. The fans are voting, but let me show you how it works. Now, the National Football League uses 2 video recorders to review replays of disputable calls, and if in the judgment of the instant replay official in that booth, the review contradicts the call, he will order the official to reverse his decision. Now, the new rule subject to review at the end of the season was put in to resolve controversy, but so far, as Will McDonough reports, the use of instant replay has itself become the target of controversy.
Last Sunday's game here in Giants Stadium between the Jets and the Dolphins was one of the best passing shootouts in recent years. But when the game was all over, people weren't talking about the way Ken O'Brien or Dan Marino threw the football. They were talking about a call in the game, a call made right here in the instant replay officials booth. And this is the call. When Michael Harper fumbled the opening kickoff in overtime, Miami recovered. But the field officials felt that Harper's left knee was down before he lost the ball. When the replay review was inconclusive, the replay official refused to overturn the call. The next day, Don Shula showed his irritation with that decision.
That was perhaps an error in judgment on his part. Players make errors, coaches make errors, replay officials make errors, officials make errors.
Shula makes a good point. They are human, they will make mistakes, but look at the position they're in right now. They're being asked to overrule their brother officials. They are being asked to make decisions that will decide a football game, and they are being asked to play God.
I think there's reluctance on the officials in the booth because it's something new, and they have a natural affinity for the officials on the field.
Art McNally, supervisor of officials, disagrees, claiming his men upstairs, all ex-officials, have experience in pressure situations.
They know the game very well. They know the rules. They're highly qualified. They're simply back. They're in a position where they've been before. And if it take the big call, make the call, if it's there, you make it, period. That's the end of it.
Perhaps a better way would be to use the USFL system of instant replay. There, it was up to the coach to initiate the review. When he did, the game came to a halt. While the replay official would still have to make the final decision, he did not start the process. In a sense, it was forced upon him by the coach. The replay official did not always feel under the gun.
It'd be terrific pressure on the way the NFL is doing it, because he has to be alert every second, watching every play. And you can imagine being up there 3 hours. Our way in the USFL, we watched every play, but the only time we had to really bear down is when we saw the red flag go.
I think this is much better.
Why?
You take the coach out of it. Someone up there, official, has an opportunity to look very carefully at the TV angle. A coach down on the sidelines, I mean, you'll see them screaming about an out-of-bounds call across the way. There's no possible way.
Still, the NFL is fine-tuning its system. The replay booth communicator is now allowed to speak directly with field officials. This allows the replay official to concentrate on the play and not allow the communication process to hinder his call. As the NFL gains more experience with instant replay, look for more changes in the future.
Would you like to see it continue?
I don't know. I want to review it as the owners are. I want to watch the rest of the season. I want it to work. I hope it will work. But as to how I would vote if I had a vote, which I don't, I want to review the season just as the owners will.
I see you've been shaking that head for 30 seconds. Before you jump in with both feet, let me point this out. There have been 6,500 plays this year in the NFL, only 7 turnovers.
You know, Will, but I've seen plays that they haven't changed that should have been. Calls where they should jump in. I find myself in favor of the USFL way, Jimmy. Put the pressure on the coach, make it a strategic part of the game, let the fan yell, use it, use it, use it, and he's got to wait till the end of the game for the critical moment. I think they're trying to do too much up there.
I think what you say is absolutely true, but I think the replay rule is definitely good. It'll improve the officials' play. But the one thing we have to remember, it's an official rectifying a mistake of an official, and your point is good.
You know, I'd like to make this one distinction. According to a member of the competition committee, we're not talking about a new rule, we're talking about new procedures. And the biggest problem seems to be the communication problem between the people in the booth and the officials down on the field. You work out those bugs, instant replay will be very effective. I like it.
Well, Will and gentlemen, let's find out what the fans think. We're taking a poll today, and in case you just joined us, let me again show you the phone numbers. It's a 900 number. It'll cost you 50 cents a call. 900-220-2711 if you want yes. Yes in the revised form, perhaps the way the USFL did it, 220-2722, and no, 220-2733. Will, I can see the league over there right now dialing yes repeatedly. All right, we're going to come up with the magician down at Cincinnati when we continue on the NFL Today or on CBS in just a moment. It is 110 degrees on that carpet in Cincinnati, Ohio for the Bears and the Bengals. And a few moments ago, what was Sam Wyche doing? Running laps. Heat doesn't bother the head coach of the Bengals, Irv.
He's in pretty good shape, you know, but in his spare time, Sam Wyche is an amateur magician who this week proved to me he has more than one trick up his sleeve. But it isn't the only thing that makes him different from coaches in the National Football League.
How many mistakes are they going to make out there?
Remember what I always talk about on the days we win, the days we don't win? What kind of language and how do we act on the days we don't play well?
Most coaches practice the art of intimidation. When things go wrong, chew the players out. But Cincinnati's Sam Wyche prefers a more positive approach.
That's okay, Jimmy. Keep your head up, James. Keep your head up.
I am sensitive to the way people feel. If a guy has a bad day out there, I understand that he's back there in the locker room, he feels lousy. One of the worst things that can happen to a person when he screws up is to have somebody say, hey, man, you screwed up.
Wyche knows from experience what it's like to be on the receiving end of a coach's wrath.
I'd like for them to know that I've played before. I think that's good, and that I know that what being tired and being mad at the coach and being angry that I made him run sprints after practice is all about.
I think he is a player's coach because he was a player. He understands the player's needs. And most of the time, I would say he treats us like he is a player as well.
Sam has given the Bengals a wide-open offense, and his players know the door to his office is always open, too.
If you have an idea, you go up to Sam and you say, hey, I've got this great idea. I know this is going to work. And then about 90% of the time it gets vetoed. But at least you get a shot. And that way I think that you stay into the involvement of the meetings and the practice and the game a little more.
What do you want? 32 take?
He wants it over him.
You decide what you want. You got 2 plays, 32 take and 46.
Ain't no huddle. Let's go, guys. Let's go.
With 2 straight victories under their belt, the confident Bengals believe they're headed for the playoffs. That's what Sam Weiss has done, utilizing more tricks than he ever used as an amateur magician.
When you're a rookie, you're kind of caught up in, you know, all the veterans are around. You really don't know what to expect. And here he is pulling ropes out of his hands and tying ropes and stuff like this. And I said, is this a professional football team? Is this what it's supposed to be like?
Sam, how did you get involved in doing magic tricks?
As a player, right here in Cincinnati in 1968 and 69, I got interested in it, started buying tricks, spent a lot of money in it.
Would you show me a trick?
Well, I'll show you one that I haven't done very much. And well, actually, I've never done this in front of a crowd before, but I'll do it for you if you don't. Tell you what, put your feet down right there. Put your feet as close to the floor as you can get them. You got it right there? That's good. Okay, can you hold this wiffle dust for me? You know what wiffle dust is now, don't you? Wiffle dust is a magic dust made out of whale feathers. It comes from Tijuana. It's $18 an ounce. It's expensive because there are not a lot of feathers on whales. Now, you just hold still. Wipe that smile off your face and don't move.
That's a neat trick. Now bring me back.
Well,
Sam, where are you going? That's not funny, Sam. Sam!
The NFL Today will continue on CBS in just a moment. 2 weeks ago, in a story we ran on American football in Britain, we all chuckled at the sight of a Scottish football coach wearing kilts. Well, at the time, we assumed it would be our first and last fashion note of the football season, but Mike Ditka proved us wrong. When he began coaching the Bears, Ditka dressed like a regular blue-collar Joe, the kind of guy you'd find in your neighborhood bar. But then he discovered high fashion. Once he succumbed to the world of high fashion, there was no stopping it. He even convinced himself that those elegant threads would transform him into a statesman on the sidelines.
I'd like to create an image that's a little different than the Mike Ditka 4 or 5 years ago. And eventually, maybe if I keep dressing in nice enough clothes, I'll never get mad on the sideline again. But that uneasy grin convinces us that he's still a tough bear in sheep's clothing. Actually, he's following the trend set by other jocks who sold out to the silk shirt crowd. But this has to be the final betrayal. Big Bad Mike in a monkey suit at a fashion show. Mike, what about the gang you left back home in Pennsylvania? What do you say to them? A lot of people back in Aliquip are drinking a beer right now saying, what the heck happened to that guy? Nothing, I'm the same guy. I'll be back this summer to have one with you.
Hey, he better buy, Will.
Listen, after he gets through wearing clothes, he could take them off and stand them in the closet for 2 weeks. Ever see him sweatshirt at a game? Any of these coaches could do that.
It'll change his image, but he forgot the flower, Brent.
I liked him better when he was big, tough, gruff. Mike Ditka.
I played against that guy, and I tell you, would see him in a tuxedo is a shocker.
Hey, Irv, nice to see you back, by the way. Irv, Will, and Jimmy, 26,000 calls already. Let me update the early returns on how it's going. Do the fans want instant replay? Yes, revised or no. Yes, the early poll, 30%. Yes, but revise it, 41%. And no, throw it out, 29%. Now, those are early returns. We're going to continue to take votes throughout the afternoon here on CBS. If you want yes, there's the 900 number, 220-2711. Yes, but revise it. And no, 220-2733. And we'll give you the tolls as the afternoon progresses. For the NFL Today, I'm Brent Musburger. So long, everybody.
Giant Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, as the New Orleans Saints, 1-2 on the year, take on the New York Giants, who have won 2 and lost only 1. An ideal day for football, 62 degrees. It is not humid, partly cloudy skies on the artificial surface. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dick Stockton. The Giants are coming off 2 impressive victories against AFC West opponents. Their defense has been magnificent, but in the past they have stumbled against teams that they should beat on paper. Today is one of those teams, the Saints, and so that's the test for the Giants today. My partner, of course, is Dan Deerdorf, and the big story for the Giants is that running back Joe Morris will not play today.
He not only won't play, Dick, Joe Morris is not even at the stadium today. He was told by club officials, stay home. We'll get into his disorder as the game goes on. Starting in his place is going to be Lee Roussan, a second-year player, most of last year on injured reserve, but he started and played well during the preseason. Bill Parcells really likes him.
Now, the Saints head coach is Jim Mora, who won a couple of championships in the USFL. What is he thinking now after 3 games?
Well, the first thing that Jim Mora said when he got to New Orleans is, this is clearly a better club than I had with Philadelphia and Baltimore over in the United States Football League. But what he's coming to find out is the harsh reality that in comparison to the other NFL teams, the Saints are way behind talent-wise. That club is struggling right now. He's made some lineup changes, and Jim Mora is struggling to find an identity right now with the New Orleans Saints. Hopefully, though, from New Orleans' standpoint, the loss of Joe Morris might bring the Giants down a notch toward their level.
The Giants have won the toss, and they'll receive, and Morton Anderson will be kicking off for New Orleans, and deep for the Giants, Mark Collins and Solomon Miller. Miller is on the left, Collins on the right. Over the years, it's been close between these teams, with the Giants having won 6 of 11. And we're underway at Giant Stadium, and Anderson's kick sails deep into the end zone. A touchback, and the Giants will start out 1st and 10, and Phil Simms, the quarterback for the Giants, and he'll be facing a New Orleans defense with a 3-4 front. Bruce Clark, Tony Elliott, and Jim Wilkes up front. The linebackers, Ricky Jackson and James Hayes outside, and newcomers Sam Mills and Alvin Tolles, who did not start the regular season, are the inside linebackers. And the secondary, Waymer, Poe, Gibson, starting in place of Russell Gary at strong safety, Frank Watlick, the free safety. 1st and 10, getting a chance on the first play of the game is Maurice Carthen, who has not carried the ball all that much so far this year. Tolles making the tackle. The rest of the offense for the New York Giants, Roussan and Carthen, who carried. Bobby Johnson and Lionel Manuel are the wide receivers. Mark Bavaro, very popular tight end. Benson, Ard, Oates, Godfrey, and Nelson, the offensive line. 2nd down and 7 at the 23. Lionel Manuel goes in motion. Sims with a lot of time completes the pass to Carthen. Carthen is brought down at the 21-yard line and ended up losing on the play. It was Ricky Jackson and Sam Mills, a couple of linebackers on the stop.
And I guess the question here, Dick, is from the New York Giants standpoint offensively, what effect is the big play ability of Joe Morris going to have, the loss of Joe Morris? He was able to take a screen pass like that, maybe break a couple tackles. We'll have to find out if Carthen and Roussan are capable of that type of big play.
So it's 3rd down and 8 at the 22, and Solomon Miller comes out wide to the left. Tony Galbraith is in the game as a 3rd down receiver. Sims out of the shotgun. Gets rid of it and throws it out of bounds. Solomon Miller was the intended receiver, and it was Johnny Poe covering on the play. So the Saints do well on the first series defensively.
And the Saints have given up an incredible amount of yardage, 420 yards a game to be precise. So I think the New York Giants, this is the type of team that they'd like to get on top of early. They don't want to give the Saints any room, and right now they'll get good field position.
Elvin Edwards is back for the Saints, and Sean Landeta, who had a big day against the Raiders last week, will kick from inside his 10-yard line. Short kick. Bounces at the 45, and it might have been touched by Kelvin Edwards. He picks it up, and he's brought down by around 5 Giants, just shy of the 40 by Gary Reasons. A 42-yard punt. And the Saints will have good field position. Dave Wilson's the quarterback, facing George Martin, Jim Burt, and Leonard Marshall up front. And an outstanding group of linebackers, Carl Banks, Gary Reasons, Harry Carson, and Lawrence Taylor. And in the secondary, rookie Mark Collins starts for Elvis Patterson. Perry Williams, the other cornerback, Kenny Hill, and Terry Kennard, the safeties. 1st and 10 for the Saints on the 39-yard line. They have struggled so far this year. The victory was against Green Bay. Dave Wilson, the quarterback, fumbled the snap, and he covered up in a hurry. That's not the way you want to start, is it?
Jim Mora has got to be saying, come on, guys, we got what we wanted initially, good field position, now capitalize.
The rest of the offense behind Wilson, Dalton Hilliard, a rookie, and Buford Jordan, the fullback, Eugene Goodlow and Eric Martin, the receivers. Bill Kontz, who was just signed this week, starts at left tackle. Brad Edelman, Steve Court, Ralph Williams, and Stan Brock, the rest of the offensive line. Hobie Brenner's the tight end, and there is Jim Mora. Came over from successful USFL tenure. 2nd and 12 now at the 37. Ball from Hilliard. Doesn't get much. Leading rusher and the 2nd-round pick out of LSU had no chance. And the Giant defense led by Gary Reasons and Carl Banks made the stop.
It's a New Orleans Saint offensive ball club that is really not big play oriented. A lot of youngsters in the key positions, especially backfield-wise with Jordan and Hilliard. I think maybe it's going to be a feeling out process for New Orleans the first couple of series.
It's 3rd and 11 at the 38-yard line. Eric Dorsey, number 77, is in for the Giants as a 4th defensive rushman. Wilson going for Eric Martin, who's got it in Giant territory. And Eric Martin's going to go all the way and score to give the Saints a lead. 63 yards. Wilson to Eric Martin.
Well, wouldn't you know, the minute I say they're not big play oriented, they get a gift from the Giants, a couple missed tackles. Dave Wilson got some pressure, but it was too late. He stands, sets his feet, and Eric Martin, who's working on Terry Kennard. Kennard, no idea the ball was in the air. When you've got your back to the quarterback, you're asking for trouble. Kenny Hill too late, and Eric Martin just strolls to the end zone.
He had caught an 84-yard pass earlier this year. He is their big play receiver, and it's 6-0. Morton Anderson with Brian Hansen, the team's punter, holding. And the Saints lead it 7-0 with 3 minutes gone by in the opening quarter.
Eric Martin, that time with the touchdown pass, lines up right here in the slot. He just got one-on-one with Terry Kennard. Kennard falls behind early. Very simple. Doesn't get much simpler than that. Kenny Hill's going to come in, though, and take Kennard off the play. But Terry Kennard, really poor coverage, and Eric Martin, an easy touchdown.
So Eric Martin in his 2nd year out of LSU. And there is Morton Anderson deep for the Giants. Solomon Miller and Mark Collins, a couple of rookies. 3 minutes gone by in the first quarter, and a 63-yard touchdown pass from Dave Wilson to Eric Martin, and the Saints lead it. This will go to Collins, 2 yards in the end zone. And Collins was slammed down at the 15-yard line by Vaughn Johnson. So the Saints have to be pumped up after their first score of the game, and Phil Simms will try to regroup for the Giants.
It would appear that someone forgot to tell New Orleans that they're the underdogs in this game. How many times do you see it? You're told you can't win, so you come out and you play like a team possessed.
And again, we can't overemphasize the fact that the Giants have had their problems against teams they should beat after rising to the occasion earlier. 1st and 10 at the 15. Roussan carries for the first time today. And a fine play made by Sam Mills, who's only 5'9", an inside linebacker, and a loss on the play.
Mills just starting this week for the Saints for the first time. Glenn Red was demoted by head coach Jim Moore, and Mills and Tolles have to be the 2 shortest inside linebackers in the game. Mills at only 5'9". Alvin Tolles, his counterpart, at 6'1". 5'9", 225. That's extremely small.
Gibson and Mills both starting and both played for Jim Moore in the USFL. Loss of 1 on the play, 2nd and 11 at the 14-yard line. Simms on the 5, completes it to Bavaro. And Bavaro, who can carry many players on his shoulders, gets it out close to a first down beyond the 25. Johnny Poe making the tackle, a gain of 12.
What Bavaro does better than most tight ends in this game is his ability to get positive yardage after making the catch. You see him come across, and he's going to be made contact with by Poe with at least 3 yards to go for the first down. But look at his ability to keep fighting forward, just getting across the first down marker.
Came into the game in a 4-way tie with 3 other 49ers for the NFC receiving lead. 1st and 10 at the 26. Roussan. And Roussan is hit right about the line of scrimmage. Might have even lost a yard. Bruce Clark and James Haynes on the play for the Saints.
with the status of the New York Giants in their running game today. Again, Joe Morris out with a blood disorder. Somehow I think Mark Bavaro may have a big, big day today. He's really blossoming in only his second year. This could be a Pro Bowl performance, rather, for Mark Bavaro. Superior football player.
You pointed out the Giants are down to 3 running backs. They're going to have to go other ways. And Bavaro, who caught 6 against the Raiders last week, is prime. The ball is hit to 26. Roussan to the outside. Sims completes the pass. There's Bavaro, the tight end, who has another first down for the Giants to the 38-yard line. Antonio Gibson making the tackle, and a 13-yard pickup to Bavaro.
One of the things that Bill Parcells told us is how he enjoys watching defensive backs come up and put a hit on Bavaro, because it is they that seem to fall off. And this time it's Frank Waddle that comes in way too high and doesn't even phase Bavaro. They're going to have to hit him lower than that.
9 minutes and 12 seconds to go in the first quarter. The Saints lead the Giants 7-0. First down on the delay. Roussan slowed up and is downed at the 38 by Bruce Clark. Outstanding offensive lineman. Jim Mora, coach of the Saints, after actually winning his last USFL championship on this very field at Giant Stadium.
Yeah, he's no stranger, and some of his players, I think 11 Saints, USFL ball players, but this is a big step up to the National Football League.
2nd and 9 at the 40. Sims. Downfield, Zeke Moat, the second tight end, out of bounds, and covering on the play was Brett Maxey. Joe Morris, who had his first 100-yard game last week, not play, had suffered a broken nose, and all kinds of complications followed.
And that's where it started. He was given some medication by the Giants and their medical staff. He developed a low platelet count, and at the risk of getting too complicated, what it means is this. Joe Morris was suffering from exhaustion, and they're afraid that if he was cut, he may not be able to stop from bleeding. So rather than take a chance, they said, Joe, stay home.
3rd and 9 at the 40. You could hear a pin drop at Giant Stadium right now. Sims getting a rush and an interception. Dave Waymer into Giant territory and will go down there at the 48-yard line of New York. Bart Oates makes the stop. And now the crowd is booing the Giants, who are struggling here in the first quarter.
Ricky Jackson, number 57 in your screen. Watch him come clean on the blitz. He's going to force a quick throw by Phil Sims, and one of 2 Saints could have picked this off, but it was Dave Waymer, and you don't even see a Giant receiver in the picture when he makes the interception. So the pressure, the key on this play. And it's a blocking combination that just doesn't work. 2 Saints coming from the one side, and Sims has no choice but to either eat it or throw it. He should have eaten it.
And the Saints lead the NFL with 10 pickoffs so far this year. It's 1st and 10 for New Orleans in Giant territory at the 48. Dalton Hilliard in motion. Wilson looking deep, goes short, and he's got Buford George in his fullback. Fights his way close to a first down inside the 40. Harry Carson making the tackle for the Giants.
I think we're going to see an awful lot of that today from New Orleans. They don't think they're going to have time to work the deep pass routes. Dave Wilson knows that if he's going to be successful, he's only going to get 3.5 seconds to get rid of the football. It's going to be Hilliard, Jordan, Reuben Mays out of the backfield. And you'd think it'd be short patterns, but wouldn't you know it, they've got the game's big play on a long one to Eric Martin. They weren't counting on them.
63 yards to Martin. 7-0 Saints, 2nd and 2 at the Giant 40. Hilliard, he'll have the first down and more. And Hilliard is stopped at the 31-yard line by Terry Kennard, and the Saints have another first down.
Dalton Hilliard, a member of the Saints all-short team. He had only 5'8", but he's got the thighs of a man 6'6", breaking tackles and lowers the shoulder, and that's the way to fight for an extra couple of yards.
New group of running backs in New Orleans. Hokie Gajan's on injured reserve. Wayne Wilson was traded to Minnesota for Mike Jones. And, of course, Earl Campbell, the great one, retired. So new bases in the backfield, and it's 1st and 10 Saints on the Giant 31. Wilson is hit. Safety blitz, a loose ball, and a penalty marker is down as well. The Giants have recovered, but there's a flag. Mark Collins made the hit on Dave Wilson, the quarterback.
And Wilson appears to be hurt.
The backup quarterback for the Saints is Babe Laufenberg, who was signed this week. And he's the only other one they have. There's Laufenberg, who was with the Redskins.
Well, let's see if they can make a call. We're having a conference.
The referee is Bob Frederick. Do you see any? There's a walkie-talkie, so you know they're talking with upstairs.
They're trying to determine whether it was a forward pass or a fumble. Right here is Mark Collins. He's going to come on the blitz and make the hit. Two linebackers come to the one side. They draw the block of Buford Jordan, and that leaves Collins wide open. They're going to try to figure whether this was from the ground level. You make the decision. Was his arm in motion? Number 25, Collins, will make the hit. Let's see if his arm starts forward.
I don't think so.
Close. Very, very close. He had it up, but wasn't moving forward.
Paul Trapinski is the replay official.
I did not see his arm moving forward.
After further review by the instant replay, the play will stand as a fumble. However, on the play, there was an offensive holding on number 70, which we will penalize 10 yards with an offensive holding, and the play will stand.
So the fumble, and Bill Parcells is saying, what? The Giants did not apparently recover. They would have declined the penalty for sure, marked off against the Saints.
Well, the Saints then recovered the football. Here, let's get another explanation.
Number 70, be a first down repeated.
That's Bill Kontz, former Cleveland Brown, who just reported this week and was signed.
Well, it sure looked like the Giants recovered the football, but obviously they did not. That's why it still is New Orleans football with a penalty enforced.
But it's 1st and 20 now for the Saints, back on the 41. Dalton Hilliard nearly stumbled as he drives the handoff to the 38-yard line. Gain of 3. They ruled no fumble because the whistle had blown, so the only thing on that play was the holding penalty. Gary Reasons and Jim Burt made the stop on Dalton Hilliard, and so we've had a lot of starts and stops and delays, and it's still 7-0 Saints, and it's 2nd and 17 on the 38. Shy by about 13 yards of first down. It'll be 3rd down, and extra wide receivers come in the game as Chicago draws first blood. Perry Williams and Harry Carson making the tackle. Well, is that right, Dan, about not being a fumble? Because it had to be one or the other.
No, I think it was a fumble. I think it was a fumble all the way, and New Orleans recovered the football. There's no way. The play had to have a logical end. It either had to be an incomplete forward pass or a fumble. He did not rule incomplete forward pass. It was a fumble, and New Orleans recovered.
Now it's 3rd and 13. At the 34. 4 wide receivers for the Saints. Here comes pressure on Wilson. He's gone to Martin, and a penalty marker is thrown. Terry Kennard defending Eric Martin down about the 10-yard line. And Kennard pleads his case. So another conference with the striped shirts.
Well, this game is off to a rocky start.
Especially for the Giants.
Defensive pass interference. Number 43. Touchdown.
It'll be a first down for the Saints just outside the 10-yard line. And Bill Parcells is so upset. His headset is off. And what is he thinking about?
Well, he's thinking that there have been a couple major breaks very early in this ball game, and they're all going in favor of New Orleans. New Orleans had a fumbled snap between center and quarterback. They retain possession. They have a very close and controversial play where the ball is fumble. They retain possession. Now they get the big call at the 10-yard line. It's all going the way of the black and gold.
And, of course, the real things like a Waymer interception, which has set this situation up. Saints leading and threatening. Hilliard tackled by Lawrence Taylor from behind at the 9-yard line. And Taylor looks like he's aroused right now.
I don't know that there's ever been a linebacker that can come down the line of scrimmage and make a play from behind. From the left side of your screen, there comes Lawrence Taylor. Look at him go parallel to the line of scrimmage. Hilliard wants to make the cutback. The minute he makes that decision, Lawrence Taylor is right there. There haven't been many that ever were gifted enough to be able to pull that off.
Second down and 9 at the 9. Wilson has Hobie Brenner as tight end, who's out of bounds at about the 1.5-yard line. Mark Collins, the rookie, knocked him there, and the Saints are knocking on the Giants' ball once again.
Hobie Brenner at that time was wide open on the play. He's just lined up right here at tight end. He's going to work to the outside. The zone falls back into the end zone. And he is wide open on the play. See the zone, but the zone didn't realize that you're right on the goal line. You can't give a receiver that much ground.
The ball is sitting just beyond the 1-yard line. A third down play for the Saints with 4:19 remaining in the first quarter. Two tight ends. And Wilson fires, incomplete. Wilson could have run for the touchdown. He had wide open spaces to the left, but instead he went for John Tice, the tight end, who was defended by Herb Welch.
Oh, I really don't know what Dave Wilson was thinking about. Look at the good fake by Hilliard up into the air. Dave Wilson is outside the contain of the New York Giants. I think he could have easily made it into the end zone. Perry Williams is a couple yards deep, but instead he decides to throw. Boy, that was risky. I think he's going to hate himself when he watches the films tomorrow. And guess what? Another conference.
And there might be another penalty marker, although I did not see one thrown. They still indicate third down.
And I don't see a flag anywhere on the field. A rocky start by the officiating crew.
Busy day for Bob Frederick thus far.
I still don't see a flag, do you?
Never saw one. Parcells is yelling for the line judge.
Well, I don't know what Harry Carson said to the one.
There's a flag.
Official.
I see the penalty marker now in the end zone. But this is more like a Summit Conference than a football game so far.
Defensive holding on tight end.
Penalty on the Giants.
And it will be first down and goal.
Well, Dan, you called this even before this penalty about how things have really worked against the Giants so far. Circumstantial things, whatever you want to call it, is a first and goal now on the 1-yard line for the Saints.
Well, no Giant player was identified as having committed the infraction, but either John Tice or Hobie Brenner was held, and of course that defensive foul brings an automatic first down.
Dalton Hilliard is stopped short of the goal line. And Carl Banks comes out of it and wants to get a little exercise before second and goal.
These Giant players like to hit for the other end zone. Jim Burt last week ran about 60-some yards with a dead ball.
Right now they got to be getting a little anxious. Mark Bavaro, we understand, has been taken to the Giant locker room for an X-ray on his jaw. So we'll follow that and bring you any details. The Giants' outstanding tight end. Meanwhile, second and goal on the 1. Saints leading, threatening, 3:45 to go in the opening quarter. And a touchdown for Dalton Hilliard. His third touchdown touchdown rushing of the season, and the Saints lead it 13-0. And they have shocked the Giants here in the first quarter in a penalty-filled, controversial first quarter where the Saints have made all the big plays.
Well, New Orleans has done exactly what they wanted to do. A team that was a decided underdog. Now the Giants have to play catch-up football, and that's going to make the Saints defense better than they really are.
Morton Anderson with Hanson holding will try to add the 14th point. And the kick is good. We have a capacity crowd at Giant Stadium. You wouldn't know it by the sounds. 14-0 New Orleans in a shocker. Rutherford, New Jersey, Dick Stockton and Dan Dierdorf, and the Saints, underdogs against the Giants, lead 14-0 in what has been a penalty-filled game, most of them coming by the Giants, and a big play by the Saints offensively and defensively, and right now they're upsetting the powerful Giants. Morton Anderson kicking off. He's got Solomon Miller and Mark Collins, and it's Collins this time who will take it there and down it for a touchback. Well, the question, of course, as you know, is should instant replay be used in the NFL? And that's the question we are asking in our CBS Sports poll. And you can cast your vote by simply dialing the number listed next to the category of your choice. Yes in the current form, yes in the revised form, or no. And we'll see how the fans are voting at halftime and on the NFL Today postgame show. And keep in mind, there's a 50-cent charge per call. First and 10 for the Giants on the 20-yard line. Phil Simms with the interception, his 5th of the year. Completes the pass to Zeke Moat, who's in there for Bavaro, and will be checking on his condition. And the gain out to the 27, Ricky Jackson making the tackle.
And it's nice to see Zeke Moat back playing football for the Giants. Failed last year with a knee injury during the preseason. Of course, his misfortune was also Mark Bavaro's opportunity to shine, but I don't know how many teams in the National Football League have as talented a pair of tight ends as the New York Giants.
Right now they're operating, Dan, without Joe Morris and Mark Bavaro, and there are some 2nd and 3 at the 27. Roussan. And Roussan is stopped at the 29, shy of a first down by 1.5 yards. Jim Wilkes making the tackle, and there is Dalton Hilliard, the 2nd-round draft pick out of LSU, who's the 3rd all-time leading rusher in the Southeastern Conference.
His 3rd touchdown already of the season, so for a rookie, off to a fine start.
And they like Reuben Mays, his backup, another rookie from Washington State. 3rd and 1 for the Giants. Roussan, he'll have the first down, and might have had more had he not been tripped up the 33-yard line by Sam Mills. Roussan in his 2nd year out of Colorado was on injured reserve for 14 weeks last year.
He's also put on a lot of weight this season to try to bulk up for the rigors of the National Football League. Played around 210 last year. They list him out at 222.
First and 10 at the 34. 1:47 remaining in the first quarter. Out of trouble and dumps the ball off to the 35 to Roussan. They didn't get much on the play.
I think dump is the right word. That is a dumped pass. That was end over end on its way to Roussan. Phil Simms that time under a pass rush from the outside and barely got that one off. Wasn't pretty, but it was good for a couple of yards.
Here's Roussan, who Parcells, as Dan mentioned, likes very much, and he was kind of geared in case Joe Morris had continued that holdout, as you said. 2nd and 8 now at the 36. Time remaining in the first quarter. Simms, incomplete, and he was going for Stacy Robinson. Dave Waymer was covering on the play.
Stacy Robinson would have had to have been about 7 feet tall to catch that pass. That ball got away from Phil, just floated. Lucky there wasn't a Saint defender in a position to make a play. A lot of times an overthrown pass like that is picked off.
Simms coming into the game needed just 63 yards to become the 2nd Giant in history to amass 15,000 in a career. Charlie Connolly was the other one. 3rd and 8 in the shotgun. And Simms up the middle.
protection. It's flawless. Phil has all day to stand in the pocket, but he throws it just completely behind Miller, who was the intended receiver. But Van Jakes, with a good move, comes down with the Phil Simms second interception of the game.
In the NFL, that's how many interceptions they have at Van Jakes, who was with Jacksonville of the USFL on this one.
Van Jakes is playing the short man in the zone. He really isn't assigned to anyone. That's why he's there. Just stand there and wait for a bad throw, and he got a gift that time. I don't know what Phil is hearing from upstairs, but I'll guarantee it's not good news.
Saints average starting field position, their own 47. They're in Giant territory with 51 seconds to go in the first quarter. Ruben Mays is in the game, number 36. He goes in motion. Dave Wilson goes to Mays, wide open. And Mays will have a first down. Let's see where he stepped out of bounds. Might have been short of yards, but he gets to the 40 in a gain of 9. Kenny Hill, the strong safety on the tackle.
Again, I go back to talking about the Saints wanting to work underneath. The Giants, more often than not, drop back into a deep zone. That time in motion, Mays came out, and there was not a Giant within 5 yards of it.
Why wouldn't the Giants say to the Saints, we'll challenge you to go deep against us?
Well, I don't know why they don't either, because if I had their pass rush, I'd be doing that a lot.
And they know the Saints don't have real good speed in their receivers. 2nd and 1 at the 40. Jordan close to a first down, and once again Lawrence Taylor came across and got him from behind.
Exactly as he did before. New Orleans is going to have to block Lawrence Taylor. They just can't run away from him. Look at the way he comes down the line of scrimmage. It takes tremendous speed to be able to do that, and that time it was Buford Jordan's turn to not even have a chance.
The clock stops for a measurement, Dan. And how do you like that play we saw in the film of Taylor running back in coverage to regain on a play against the Raiders last week?
Yeah, we were watching some Raider film, and he was sucked clear into the inside and yet made a run 30 yards downfield and made a saving tackle for the Giants. Lawrence Taylor, one of the things I've always marveled at is his conditioning, his ability to go with that type of intensity every play of the game. It's not, that's very, very difficult to do.
It is a first down for the Saints, just inside the 40, and they've doubled the Giant output. 16 seconds in the clock running remaining in the first quarter. Ruben Mays, nowhere, and guess who? Mr. Taylor again, and that'll be the last play of the first quarter.
It appears that Lawrence Taylor is taking things into his own hands.
And the crowd had a smattering of applause on that defensive play, but there's the end of the first quarter here at Giant Stadium. The Saints lead the Giants 14-0.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Miller Lite. For great taste, there's only one light beer. Mobil 1 Synthetic Motor Oil. Mobil 1 protects your engine better than any conventional motor oil. And by the heartbeat of America, today's Chevrolet.
At Giant Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, we start the second quarter, and the lights have been turned on here. And for the Giants and their fans, hopefully the lights will be turned on inside their heads as the Saints have taken the play away from them in the first quarter and lead 14-0. Dave Wilson, who just lost out to Bobby Hebert, is the quarterback in preseason. And Hebert, of course, suffering a broken bone last week. And the turnovers have so far played a role in the Saints' touchdown and maybe more before this drive is over.
And this game is being played on New York's half of the football field.
2nd and 11 as we start the second quarter. Saints at the Giant 40. Buford Jordan finds a hole up the middle and gets to the 35-yard line. Jim Burt making the tackle. The Bears going to Cincinnati, leading 21-0.
Keep in mind, as this third down play now confronts Dave Wilson, that the Saints probably have the best field goal kicker in the business right now in Morton Anderson.
He's kicked 17 in a row, longest current streak.
That must look awful good to the Giants.
Third down and 6 at the 35. Wilson on a designed rollout. Hits Mike Jones for a first down and out of bounds. Fumble, but the whistle had blown. And Kenny Hill making the stop on Mike Jones, who was acquired from the Minnesota Vikings this season.
And again, Terry Kennard the fellow who's a step behind in his pass coverage, a designed rollout all the way. And as you can see, Jones just clearly beaten Kennard, and Kennard again doesn't make the tackle. But if you see Lawrence Taylor, he's going to be free coming from the backside. And it's a good thing that rollout was called to the right, or it would have been a sack.
First and 10 at the 17, opening minute of the second quarter, and the Saints threatening again, leading by 2 touchdowns. Wilson finds Hobie Brenner, the tight end, who's hit immediately by Mark Collins before Brenner gets out of bounds inside the 15. And there's Collins, rookie from Fullerton State, and Bill Parcells said he had no problems in starting him today.
Oh, he was really in love with Mark Collins and his preseason. He really liked his football instincts, his ability to always be in on a play, and he said he's not afraid to take a chance. A lot of young cornerbacks, especially when they get to the NFL, they're afraid to make that play for the football. He said Collins is not afraid at all.
Second and 5 at the 12. Reuben May looking for room and gets to the 10-yard line. George Martin making the tackle. So far in the passing department, Dave Wilson is a perfect 7 for 7 for 114 yards and a touchdown. It'll be 3rd and 3 now for the Saints.
You really would not think that the game so early into the second quarter could be in a position where the Giants would be grateful to only be behind 17-0. But a field goal has to be very attractive right now.
Wilson fires and it's tipped away by Mark Collins, intended for Eric Martin. It'll be 4th down and enter Morton Anderson for the Saints.
And again, the Saints somewhat lucky on that play, because that was not a good throw by Dave Wilson. He threw right into double coverage. Look how close he came to have this one picked off. Luckily, it was a bit overthrown, or that would have been intercepted.
That's the first incompletion of the day for Dave Wilson, and Morton Anderson will attempt a 27-yard field goal. Brian Hansen will hold, looking for his 18th in a row. And Anderson, the Pro Bowl kicker last year, is successful from 27 yards, and the Saints continue to put it on the Giants to the tune of 17-0. 17-0, and turnovers have resulted in 10 points for the Saints. 2 interceptions thrown by Phil Simms, and Morton Anderson will be kicking off for the 4th time in this first half. The deep men, Solomon Miller is on the left, Mark Collins to the right. This will go to Collins at the 1. They set the wedge up. Collins bobbles it. And Collins brings it out to the 19-yard line. Pat Swilling makes the tackle. So Phil Simms will try to bring the Giants back right now, trailing 17-0. The Giants have been locked in 2 out of 3 close games, and he says the close games have been hard on the Giants so far this season.
You know, we like to play a few games where it's comfortable instead of playing these tight ones every week. We like to win one comfortably and take a little pressure off ourselves.
Right now, the game is comfortable for the Saints.
Yeah, I don't know that I don't think that's what they've got today. 2 wins like they've had the last couple of weeks have taken their toll. Meanwhile, we've got an injured player down on the field. I believe that's Brett Maxey.
He is their nickel back, Brett Maxey. And right now, for an NFL Today report, let's go across the river to Brent Musburger in New York.
But Dick, the Chicago Bears are an entirely different team with Jim McMahon at quarterback. Already today he has thrown for 2 touchdowns. This one a 53-yarder to Willie Gault, and he ran in for a 3rd. The Bears are having an easy time of it. It's 21-0. Let's go back now to Dick and Dan Dierdorf.
Well, thank you very much, Brent. And Brett Maxey on the sidelines. He has been their nickel back. It'll be the Giants' ball. And Dan, the Giants last year, they were 3-2. They fell behind the Bengals 21-0, ultimately lost. The year before that, they lost to Tampa Bay in the game they should have won, and that's kind of been their problem.
But this, you really have to wonder, how can this be happening? Because they really are physically so superior to the New Orleans Saints, and I don't mean that as a shot to New Orleans. But here you have what they've done offensively. absolutely nothing. And of course, the 2 interceptions. And the thing is, look where the drive started. The field position today has been New Orleans all the way.
And they haven't been able to run the ball, have they?
No, 6 rushes for a grand total of 8 yards. That's a dandy little 1.3-yard average.
And all that does is give Bill Parcells headaches. He doesn't have Joe Morris. Had that blood disorder. Did not show up today at the stadium. And Mark Bavaro, we're still trying to get a report on Bavaro. He had x-rays on his jaw. Meanwhile, next Saturday, college football on CBS. And what a dandy we had yesterday with Miami and Testaverde beating Oklahoma. Next week, it's Iowa against Michigan State.
And of course, Lorenzo White last week had 192 yards and 2 touchdowns actually yesterday, and one of the candidates for the Heisman Trophy, although Vinny Testaverde didn't hurt himself yesterday.
A lot of teams could use him today.
Yeah. Maybe one of them right here.
1st and 10 at the 20. Sims is 5 for 10 for only 34 yards. Roussan on a fake reverse. And he carries it out to the 28-yard line. Dave Waymer and Sam Mills on the tackle for the Saints.
Trying to stop the Saints' flow by showing a reverse. The New York Giants bring it out to the right side. Lee Roussan following the block of Maurice Carthen. Carson has to do away with Dave Waymer, and he doesn't even touch him. Waymer just drifts off to the inside and gets in on the play. Carson missing the block.
Gain of 8, 2nd and 2 at the 20. Carson fights his way for 1st down yardage. Giants have a 1st down and draw applause from the so far quiet crowd here. James Haynes and Antonio Gibson combine to make the tackle on Maurice Carthen.
Antonio Gibson elevated to starting status today. Russell Gary, who's been their starting strong safety for a number of years, hasn't played up to the level that Jim Moore would like to see. He's on the bench.
1st and 10. Sims finds Moat out of the backfield. Good move by Zeke to the 41. Sam Mills making the tackle. You mentioned he had that big year in '84 and then was on the verge of greatness before that knee injury, forcing him to miss all of last year.
Zeke Moat playing today because Mark Bavaro has been in for an x-ray. We still haven't heard word as to whether or not Mark Bavaro will be back, but capable hands, we'll call them. Zeke Moat, a fine football player.
2nd and 3 for the Giants on the 41. Roussan has Carthen blocking, and he falls down. And instead of 1st down yardage, Roussan picks up just about a yard, that's all. Ricky Jackson and James Haynes, the 2 outside backers on the tackle.
In Roussan's defense, down on the field before the game, the field is wet. It rained here in New York yesterday, and the field has not yet begun to dry off. So that time, Roussan, I guess there's no way that he can't be nervous and he can't be tight. Making his first professional start, especially in place of someone like Joe Morris, and especially with his team behind, he's got to be tighter than a drum.
3rd down and 2, and here's Roussan, and he leaps for the 1st down to the 48-yard line of Giant territory, and the nose tackle Tony Elliott makes the stop on Roussan. He carried only 6 times last year.
This is a play the Giants love to run. Base blocking along the front. They'll bring the off guard. Lee Roussan running their flow series, as the Giants call it. They ran this play at least 15 times last week against the Raiders. Morris had the big day. That time a 1st down carry by Roussan.
At the 48-yard line, Saints lead the Giants 17-0 in a stunner so far. Sims to Roussan. Trying to get some room, and Roussan is out of bounds. Not quite out of bounds, but into Saints territory. James Haynes makes the tackle at the 48-yard line of New Orleans.
Notice the type of passing we're seeing now from Phil Sims. A little more conservative, working the ball parallel to the line of scrimmage. Short passes rather than going downfield. He's forced it a couple times going downfield, made some bad throws. They've been interceptions. Parcells now maybe letting him get some confidence back by throwing the shorter, high percentage pass.
Giants in Saints territory for the 1st time today. 2nd and 6. Roussan with Billy Yard blocking. Hard runner, and they have another Giant 1st down. Frank Watlet and Sam Mills on the tackle.
Again, I think we see the flow series Billy Ard's going to pull, but watch the block by Zeke Mowat. He's going to put Ricky Jackson flat on his back. Keep in mind that Jackson is a Pro Bowl football player, and he's going to put Jackson right here. Watch this block. He's going to go right on his back. That's a heck of a block by Zeke Mowat. And the Giants starting to come to life with their running game.
You pointed out how many teams have two tight ends the way the Giants had, and Bavaro and Mowat.
A lot of teams don't have one tight end that can block like that.
First down for Bill Parcells' Giants at the 42, 8:24 remaining in the first half. Giants have to come out of this with something. Trailing by 17. Sims with a couple of pumps finds Mowat to the 15. And inside the 15 to the 12-yard line. Gibson on the tackle, a gain of 30 to Zeke Mowat and a Giant first down.
Let's look at it from the end zone. Zeke Mowat is lined up to the right, but the key here is how long Phil Simms can stand in the pocket. No one even close. Mowat stays on the line of scrimmage for 2 seconds. He releases Ricky Jackson, totally lost. But again, Simms stood in the pocket for over 5 seconds before he made the throw.
And with that pass, Simms has gone over the 15,000 mark. Only the second quarterback, Charlie Connolly, was the first. First and 10 at the 12 for the Giants. Simms with a lot of time. Incomplete. The intended receiver was Lionel Manuel, and Simms has yet to complete a pass to a wide receiver in this first half.
And Lionel Manuel got hit after the ball went by. That was close to being a penalty play. The ball had gone past him, and he started to relax, and he got hit good.
Meanwhile, Mark Bavaro has come out of the Giant dressing room, and he is getting set for action. As Manuel is hurt, here it is again.
Watch the ball go by. Someone's going to come in from the left of the screen. We don't even see him yet, but the play is over. And I'm sorry, folks, that's a cheap shot. And look at Lionel Manuel's left knee come in, and that's Antonio Gibson, who came in and hit Manuel low.
So one other Giant is hurt.
And I really don't like to see that, Dick.
But Bavaro may be all right. We'll take a timeout as they tend to Lionel Manuel. Well, and it doesn't look good as they carry him off the field after that hit in the end zone.
It looked like they were working on his knee, and you're going to see it right here. From the left of your screen, the ball's already gone. The play is over. Here comes Gibson, but he even goes low. And you see him just blow in on the knee of Lionel Manuel, and I'm sorry. I just don't see any call for a play like that. That was a cheap shot. I mean, it just appeared to me that Antonio Gibson both A, could have held up, and B, there was no need to go in low on the knee like that.
So the Giants have lost Lionel Manuel and now have only 3 wide receivers in Manuel, but 2 touchdown passes last week against the Raiders. He's led the Giants in receiving touchdowns as Simms now with a 2nd and 10 goes to Mowat, incomplete. Watlett covering on the play.
That time New Orleans, instead of sitting back and waiting for Simms to find an open receiver like he's had tons of time the last couple of times, came with a blitz. Long Johnson came in, and I think what we saw right there was Phil Simms telling Zeke Mowat, hey, it was a blitz. You've got to see it, and you've got to change your pass route. Every passing combination has a blitz alternate, and that time it looked like Mowat didn't run it.
3 wide receivers, and that's all the Giants have out there now. Bobby Johnson, Stacy Robinson, and Solomon Miller. 3rd and 10. This is the 11th play coming up of the drive, and we'll have a timeout called by the Giants. Simms didn't like what he saw.
Action call for a team timeout. First this half, and 2 remaining in the half.
We're at Giant Stadium and a shocking first half here at East Rutherford, New Jersey. Dick Stockton and Dan Deerdorf as the heavily favored Giants, coming off 2 impressive wins over the Chargers and Raiders, trail the Saints 17-0 in an Era Field game and a lot of penalties. 7:19 remaining in the second quarter. Big touchdown pass from Dave Wilson in for Bobby Hebert. 63 yards to Eric Martin. Dalton Hilliard with a 1-yard run, and then a field goal by Morton Anderson from 27 yards made it 17-0, and Sims has thrown 2 interceptions.
That resulted in the second touchdown and the Anderson field goal.
It'll be 3rd and 10 as Sims has talked things over with the sideline. Giants have to come out of here with at least a field goal.
Something that has not been easy for them in the past. Keep in mind now that they have a new kicker today, Raul Alegre.
And more about him, and it's been quite a revolving door for Giant kickers. There is Alegre, former Colt. Giants have had the ball on this possession for nearly 5.5 minutes.
The only thing we know for sure, given the Giants and their track record, is that eventually he'll be a former Giant too.
And they keep coming up with those low-digit numbers. The 2s, the 3s. Alegre. Actually, Alegre was the guy Parcells originally wanted, but he wanted a bonus for just kicking conversions and field goals, which is his job. Tony Galbraith is in the lineup. In the backfield, 3rd and 10. Sims overthrows Solomon Miller, and he was surrounded by Saints, especially Johnny Poe. You know, the Saints are playing an outstanding first half defensively.
They didn't put a whole lot of pressure on Phil Sims that time. He came out of the pocket late. Tough to fault him that time. I mean, he had 2 choices. Either throw it away because he had no one open in the end zone, or take off and run with the football. Given Phil's pass, the way he's been banged up, and one of the things you have to look at, without a lot of their talented people, you can't afford to get him hurt. I think he did the right thing.
Jeff Rutledge will hold for Raul Alegre, the 6th-place kicker the Giants have had in the last 21 games. This will be a 29-yard attempt. And the kick is good, so Alegre will at least be around for the second half.
And the Giants get on the scoreboard. Something that hasn't come easy.
29-yard field goal makes it 17-3. All right, well, who have indeed kicked for the Giants? Well, there was Ali Haji, who was released a couple of weeks ago. Jess Atkinson. Eric Schubert. Bob Thomas, who was a recent Giant kicker and then gone. And Joe Cooper, who missed a 39-yarder last week. Alegre's the current kicker, and that's how many they've had. 6 kickers in 21 games.
What did Bill Parcells say when we asked him about kickers? He said, well, if they make them, I like them.
Let's see if this was a cinch by Alegre on the 3-pointer.
Did this one split the middle, or did he make it exciting? Oh, whoa, look at that one.
He made it exciting. He made it exciting.
Well, that was no gimme. The officials had to look close at that one. Hart might have skipped just 1 beat, maybe.
So Alegre will kick off now. And the first time today that the Giants have kicked off. Deep for the Saints is Ruben Mays. He's on the left. And Mel Gray is on the right. And Gray returned to kick 101 yards for a Saints record last week in a losing effort against San Francisco. Low kick. Over the head of Gray into the end zone. It'll be a touchback. And the Saints will take it out at the 20. But right now, we have an NFL Today report, and Brent Musburger will tell us what it's all about. Brent?
Well, Dick, this is the other big upset brewing in the NFL. The Philadelphia Eagles have jumped all over the Rams. Beautiful play. Fires a left-handed throwing rookie from Ohio State, sucks the corner up, and Mike Quick is open 55 yards. It's 17-0 Eagles. Let's go back now to Dick and Dan Deardorff.
So the Eagles and the Saints winning games. They're not supposed to be leading, and there's Manuel still on the field, or on the sidelines anyway. This is the worst starting position the Saints have had all half. 7:01 remaining in the first half, 17-3 New Orleans. Quick toss, Dave Wilson to Hobie Brenner, the tight end. First down to the 38-yard line. Terry Kennard on the stop, and a gain of 18 to the tight end, Brenner.
I think we're going to see what the Saints wanted to do. Watch Dave Wilson just take the short drop. He's going to take the 3-step drop, find Brenner quickly, because he knows pressure's coming from the Giants. 1, 2, 3, bang. That's exactly what he wants to do. And that time Brenner split the Giant linebackers in the secondary that was dropping into the zone.
And Hobie Brenner, who was the Saints' offensive MVP last year, is shaken up.
Well, I know the way a defense thinks. The Giants say, you hurt one of our guys, we're coming after you.
First and 10 in the 38. Interesting. John Tice, number 82, is in at tight end. Another toss, incomplete. They were going for Tice. And covering was Terry Kennard. So the Saints with the ball, as we said, deep in their own end, but they have scored on every possession so far in this half.
And I think the Giant defense has come to life. And it may have been the shot by Gibson on Lionel Manuel that has done it. But that time the pocket moved past Dave Wilson almost faster than he could drop back. Just keep an eye on the Giant front seven and the way they come off the football. I think it's safe to say they're a little angry.
Second and 10 at the 38. 6:11 remaining in the first half. Ruben Mays being chased by Lawrence Taylor. And guess who won that one?
Again, the Saints cannot continue to run to the right side without someone sealing off Lawrence Taylor from the backside. Look at him just float right off the tails of everyone and catch Ruben Mays. And watch Lawrence get up.
And a penalty. They also have a flag on the play. It appears to be against the Saints.
Offensive holding, number 23, and the penalty will be refused. It will be third down.
Buford Jordan, the converted tailback, playing fullback for the Saints. They declined the penalty. It'll be third down and 10 at the 38.
And the crowd smells blood, and I think justifiably so.
I know you do.
I do. The Giants are alive right now. If I was Dave Wilson, I'd make this a quick throw.
And he dumps it off to Jordan. Hit at the 40-yard line by Mark Collins, and that'll be good enough to set up fourth down and punt. So Brian Hansen will come in the game for the Saints. His first punt of the game. Mark Collins is deep for the Giants.
I'm not a big fan of throwing a parallel pass when you need a full 10 yards for a first down. You're asking an awful lot of your running backs to try to break 5 tackles to get a first down.
Hansen fourth in the NFC coming into this game in punting. Not long, but a high kick. Collins looked like he called for the fair catch at the last minute. A 36-yard kick, no return. 4:50 remaining in the first half. Having the early lead is that they have a lot of time to come back. Do you sense any momentum change?
Oh, a drastic momentum change. I mean, I don't think anyone at the stadium could miss it. And I'm serious now. I know what goes through a player's mind. They take a look at a player getting cheap shotted. Lionel Manuel was injured in the end zone, and I think that has caused, you know, the Giants were sleeping. They were out of the ball game. Bam, all of a sudden they're back in it.
What makes a team like the Giants do so well against some other clubs? We've seen it. We're seeing it with the Rams in Philadelphia today, and then all of a sudden be so flat coming home in a game that they know that they should win.
Well, let's not get too critical of the Giants. Let's give the New Orleans Saints a little credit. These are professional football players. They get paid to play just like the Giants. I think it's a combination of the Giants maybe coming out a little soft, but by the same token, these guys in the black and gold, they've got some pride. They want to play well. They know they're in the Big Apple, and they're playing like it.
They sure are. First and 10 for Sims and the Giants at the 24. Fake to Roussan, and Sims has a wide open Stacy Robinson out of bounds and a first down at the 36. Johnny Poe on the tackle, a gain of 13. Mark Bavaro is back, by the way.
From the end zone, Phil Sims will just take the straight drop back after a play-action fake. Slight roll to the left, but a big cushion being given by Johnny Poe on this side of the field. Stacy Robinson, the simplest pattern of all, just working the sideline. Easy, first down.
And the first catch by a Giant wide receiver this afternoon. The middle to the 45-yard line, and a gain of 8. Alvin Toles, former #1 draft pick at inside backer, makes the stop.
And I think we'll see a lot of that working across the middle. Toles, a first-year starter. He was a #1 draft choice last year. Sam Mills, the other inside linebacker, a new starter. So, hey, if you're the New York Giants offensive people, Ron Earhart, their offensive coordinator, hey, you're going to go to work right in the center of that defense. Go to the inexperienced.
2nd and 2 at the 45. And a penalty.
And Bavaro's down again. Mark Bavaro still on all fours.
False start. Number 60 in the offense.
That was Brad Benson, the left tackle, but we'll be watching
Second
Bavaro.
down will be repeated.
I think we're seeing some toughness here by Mark Bavaro. He is obviously in pain. Let's see if we can pick up Bavaro here on the ISO. Locking on Ricky Jackson. Oh, there it is right there. He has his teammates fall from behind on his right ankle. Boy, you're trying to play with one thing hurting, and all of a sudden they give you something else to worry about.
2nd and 2 at the 45-yard line. 2nd and 7 makes that. Sims, rushed by Warren, and Wilkes. Nearly a great catch. Downfield by Solomon Miller. Incomplete. Johnny Cole covering on the play.
That was a fine throw by Phil Sims. On the run, taking a hit the minute he released the ball, and that was a beautifully thrown pass. And Solomon Miller, while it would have been a good catch, I think should have caught that. That's as good as you could throw it if you're Phil Sims.
You're a tough man.
Well, the ball, it hit him right on his hands. I mean, granted, he was diving.
Horizontal.
But they work on that all day long. That ball hit him on the hand. It would have been a darn good catch. Don't misunderstand me. But, you know, receivers are paid to make darn good catches.
3rd down. Pat Swilling, a rookie linebacker, playing down lineman now in the game, and the pass is caught close to a first down. Let's see where they spot it. And the catch, Tony Galbraith, tackled by Ricky Jackson, and this is an important spot on the ball. They're going to have a measurement, and if the Giants didn't make it, they didn't make it by...
Oh, the ball just got moved. They just moved the ball a foot forward.
That's all they needed. That's all they wanted was a foot. They moved it a foot, and that's all the Giants needed to get that first down. You believe that? Now they may have, with the new football in there, moved it back a little bit.
And now they just signal first down.
I guess it's a first down.
Boy, now that... How do you not even bring the chains across?
They are.
Oh. The one official ran it all the way up to the hash mark and spotted it and signaled first down. Now they are bringing the chains across.
You think it's because the ball was in front of the Giant bench?
Well, I'd like to know how it got slid forward a foot like that.
Well, it is a first down.
And you're right. That's exactly how far they had to move it.
First down, Giants.
Why? I'm a little mystified, I have to be honest with you. How does the ball just arbitrarily get slid forward a foot? I've never seen anything like that.
I think John Madden has a book about that.
Yeah, left foot, right foot.
First and 10, the Giants on their own 47. That's the time remaining in the first half. 17-3, the Saints lead though. Playing good ball so far. Sims wide open is Bavaro. First down. Watlett brings Bavaro down.
It's what I was talking about. They're going to go to work on those two inside linebackers, Mills and Toles. Look at them bail out of there. Bavaro, and Mills is just going to cleanly miss the tackle. A little jitterbug by Mark Bavaro. Oh, what a fabulous football player he's become. But again, they're working on the Saints' inexperience in the middle.
And a good block by Maurice Carthen in there, too. First and 10, Giants on the Saints' 29. 2:43 on the clock. the 22 by James Geathers. So the quarterback was out there blocking.
Solomon Miller is going to come in motion. He just went out of your picture to the right. He's going to come back in and take the handoff. The Saint defense down to the middle, and here comes Phil Simms, who puts Van Jakes right on the ground. One of the best lead blocks of the day.
Solomon Miller, 6th-round draft pick out of Utah State. And we'll have our 2-minute warning now as the Giants will have a 2nd and 7 at the 26. Trying to get to within at least, well, hopefully 7 of the Saints when we come back. First half, and the Giants are threatening, but the Saints lead at 17-3. The timeout story. Saints have all of theirs. The Giants used one earlier. They have 2 remaining, and Giants trying to move closer on a 2nd and 7 at the 26-yard line against the Saint team that really challenged the 49ers into the 4th quarter last week. So this team can play tough against good teams. Rusan. He stopped at the 24-yard line. Bruce Clark made the tackle. Let's see who moved. That'll make it 2nd and 2.
Some people over in Manhattan probably moved. As loud as Phil Simms used voice inflection, and he was successful. He got a couple of the Saints to come across the line of scrimmage. You're coached on defense to look at the football.
Defense, offside.
Jim Mora, by the way, has never lost.
Number 94.
That was Jim Wilkes. Jim Mora, as I was saying, has never lost 2 consecutive games as a head coach. Right now he's in front, 17-3, but 2nd and 2 coming up for the Giants on the 21. And there's the yardage story so far.
Appears to be 2 different ball games. First quarter, all New Orleans. The second quarter now has been all New York. They threaten to at least close New Orleans' lead.
Long count by Simms. Going for Solomon Miller, and a flag is down. Waymer and Gibson covering Solomon Miller. Most of the penalties have gone against the Giants today.
Was this ball catchable?
Illegal contact. Defense, number 44.
Dave Waymer, and it'll be a first down for the Giants.
Dave Waymer first jumped up in the air.
It is
clearly,
a first down.
Clearly making contact all the way down the field. You've got a 5-yard zone. That doesn't matter whether that ball was catchable or not. That penalty occurred before the ball was even thrown.
And the infraction was not down around the goal line, but at the 18-yard line. There's Waymer, who's a native of Brooklyn, New York, and played at Notre Dame. 1st and 10 Giants on the Saints 17. 1:50 on the clock. Simms. Rusan couldn't hold on, and he was there. The ball was there, too.
It sure was. I think Phil Simms had already put this one on the scoreboard. A perfect throw right into the chest of Lee Rusan, and he does not have possession. Clearly never had possession. Lee Rusan, who's touted as having good hands that time, made a youngster's mistake.
He'll get other chances. 2nd and 10. Pressure on Simms. Frank Warren forces a fumble. At the 19-yard line. We'll wait for the official call on a big pileup. They haven't given it yet. It's Giant ball. The Saints had pointed their way, but the officials who count say it's Giant ball.
Let's see if we can figure this one out. Phil Simms, the pocket collapses. He's unsure of where to go. Takes off, and there comes Frank Warren. And flying back in is Solomon Miller, and he makes the recovery. Fine hustle by Miller, but now he loses the football. He had it, he lost it. He must have gotten it back because they gave it to New York.
So Jim Morris Saints very nearly came up with another turnover.
This officiating crew is being put in a position of making some tough calls today.
3rd down and 12 at the 19-yard line with 1:33 on the clock. Simms in the shotgun. Simms for Bavaro. Touchdown.
Case of concentrating on the football. Mark Bavaro takes the outside. He's picked up right there by Antonio Gibson, even held by Gibson. But look at him concentrate on the football. Antonio Gibson did everything but Mark Bavaro, but he gets sick.
And his first touchdown reception of the year, and Raul Alegre has the extra point. What a war horse he has been for the Giants. Mark Bavaro, 19 yards, and the Giants trail 17-10 with 1 minute and 20 seconds to go in what has been a much tougher first half than they envisioned against a smart, scrappy New Orleans Saints team.
They call him Rambo. Obviously not just because of his looks, but because of his toughness. Keep in mind he's had his jaw x-rayed. We saw a teammate fall on the back of his legs. That hurt him. And he's just caught a touchdown pass. And as Bill Parcells likes to say, he's got a defensive mentality. When you're a former defensive coordinator like Bill Parcells, that's the nicest thing you can say about someone.
4 catches in the game for Mark Bavaro, including a touchdown. And coming up at halftime, Brent, Irv, and Will with scores and highlights. The William Andrews comeback, and what a comeback it has been. And, of course, our instant replay poll, and we hope you've been checking in with your opinion. Here again is the instant replay question and the numbers to call. 50 cents per call, by the way, if you agree with it in the current form or the revised form or not at all. Kickoff to Mel Gray. Gray hit. The whistle had blown and he was down. He was down at the 21-yard line. Andy Head doesn't agree.
Mel Gray went for 101 last week. Where's the ball? In his hands, and it hits the field. The field can't cause the fumble. The Giants don't like it, but it looked like a good call.
Fans are yelling for a replay on that, and that's going to be a customary chant, I think, by NFL fans everywhere.
Well, they've taken a look at it. If they didn't like it, they would have buzzed the umpire.
That's how much time remains in the timeout story in the first half. Saints at one time are leading 17-0 on a draw play to Ruben Mays, and a big hole for Mays, close to a first down at the 40-yard line, where the tackle made by Terry Kennard and Lawrence Taylor also involved. Under a minute to go, and the Saints in a hurry-up offense, still with 3 timeouts to go. 2nd and 1. Pressure. Marshall on Wilson, completes underneath to Eric Martin, who has the first down. Lawrence Taylor makes the stop, and now the Saints are going to call the first of their timeouts. 41 seconds remain, and each team has 2 left. Good first half by Dave Wilson, who has been in and out of the starting lineup in his career with the Saints. Let's check some scores.
Cincinnati finally gets on the board. down by 14. Another big game of the day, San Francisco and Miami. Miami only 3 points in the second quarter. You don't see that often.
Here's a shocker.
Yeah, sure. Buddy Ryan looking for number 1.
Other games, Minnesota leading Green Bay 28-7, and the Vikings have to be considered a surprise team. Detroit and Cleveland tied at halftime at 7 apiece. Same thing with Houston and Pittsburgh there in the second quarter. And that's a tough game today.
Washington, 9 points. I wonder if that was 3 field goals or a touchdown and a safety.
And Brent will have highlights coming up shortly. Saints with a timeout. 17-10. Eric Martin on a 63-yard touchdown reception from that man, Dave Wilson. Dalton Hilliard with a touchdown, a field goal by Anderson, and then the Giants came back.
And when you're a decided underdog in a game like this, I think New Orleans will try to move the ball. They've got Morton Anderson. I think they'll try to get into field goal range.
Well, the Saints haven't committed any turnovers. Their offensive line has been weak, has protected Dave Wilson very well. 4 wide receivers for the Saints on 1st and 10. And they go to Buford Jordan, the running back who has a first down into Giant territory, where he is stopped at the 42 and a gain of 14. Gary Reasons on the tackle. And a penalty marker is down, and they'll bring it all back, holding against the Saints.
Illegal use of the hands on the offense. Number 70, first down, will be repeated.
Bill Kontz with his second penalty of the day. Brings back a good gain. An interesting use of Lawrence Taylor by the New York Giants as they walk him off all the way to the outside. He's actually playing cornerback. Working that time against Kelvin Edwards, one of the wide receivers. Boy, there's a surprise. Lawrence coming up and making a hit.
1st and 20, back at the 34 in same territory. Underneath again to Reuben Mays, and Harry Carson takes care of him at the 36.
I think we're going to have another timeout.
Saints will be left with 1 timeout.
Kontz, who's been called for 2 holding calls today at left tackle, I think we have to point out there's always someone who gets some credit when someone makes a mistake. We have to credit Leonard Marshall with the defensive pressure. He's forcing Kontz into making those holding plays.
Keep in mind, Marshall, who has really not gotten his pass rush underway. Bill Parcells says, I expect more from Marshall. And getting back to the Saints, Jim Dombrowski, their number 1 draft pick, suffered a broken bone in his left foot last week. He was a starter. Darren Gilbert should have been the man in there, but Jim Mora hasn't been happy with him.
No, he was not happy at all with his week of practice. He expected Gilbert to be the starter. Kontz just in. One thing Kontz does have going in his favor is that a year ago when the Cleveland Browns were here against the New York Giants, he played almost the entire ball game at left tackle against Leonard Marshall. So he did have that going for him, but Gilbert really looked poor during the week in practice, and actually it's been very warm in New Orleans, and I guess it was during Wednesday's practice when he didn't even make it to the end. That's not the way to impress the head coach.
You think that's a reward for Kontz to go against Marshall? 2nd and 18 with 23 seconds to go. Dick Stockton and Dan Deerdorf. Giants were down 17-0, trail 17-10. Waning seconds of the first half. Wilson gets hit by Marshall, but gets rid of the ball. Incomplete. Pass was intended for Mike Jones.
Wilson to Jones. Incomplete.
An excellent pass rush that time by Leonard Marshall. Put a spin to the inside, back to the outside, beat Kontz, and put a late hit. There's Leonard Marshall right in the middle of your screen. A spin to the inside, picked up by a guard, fights over 2 people and still comes in late and forces Dave Wilson to get rid of the ball.
Well, the sacks are not what counts to Bill Parcells, is it?
No, Bill Parcells likes to count how many times the quarterback is dropped. He was pleased last week they dropped Plunkett 15 times.
Reuben Mays on a draw play gets the ball close to midfield on 3rd and 18. And he gets it to the 48-yard line before Terry Kennard and Jerome Sally make the tackle, a gain of 11. And the Giants call a timeout. Well, in the past, the Giants have been known for losing games they should have won, and it has cost them. Here's Harry Carson. Harry Carson, the veteran inside backer at 32.
Games last year to some people who we felt like we could beat. And if anything that we gained from last season, it's that we had opportunities and we blew them. We lost 6 games by a total of 20, 21 points, something like that. Had we played a little harder in certain areas, you know, we could have been Super Bowl champions.
7-time Pro Bowler. He's the spirit of this Giant team.
And don't you love his mature attitude? It's always easier to say that it's someone else's fault. You have to admire someone that says, hey, it was our fault. We had the opportunities. We didn't capitalize.
It is 4th down for the Saints. And the Giants, calling the timeout, have 1 left and envision getting the ball back. And Brian Hansen will come on to kick it away. So with 11 seconds to go, they'll have to make quick work to see if they can try to muster up some more points. Hansen kicking from the 32. Mark Collins is back. Collins will let it bounce at the 20. And it goes out of bounds. 2 seconds on the clock. Giants will have it. That kick went 32 yards. What does Sims do with 2 seconds starting from his own 20?
Not much. You head for the locker room. I think they would just as soon not even run a play. We're having another discussion back upfield, and there is a flag on the far side.
New Orleans did not report ineligible man. Would be a 5-yard penalty and 4th down.
I would think the Giants would want it a re-kick. But let's see. The Giants now are signaling from the sidelines to decline it. So on the service level, signal from the Giants sideline was to decline the penalty. Andy Hedden and Myron Hunt. Everyone is signaling decline. 80 people on the sidelines are doing the same thing.
Penalty will be refused.
2 seconds to go in the first half.
I wonder if we looked at the replay of everyone over on the Giants sideline signaling no timeout.
Phil Sims had a rocky beginning today, throwing 2 interceptions to Dave Waymer and Van Jakes, and the Saints scoring 10 points on those interceptions. And the Saints have been a mighty foe, at least for the first 30 minutes today. The dressing room. That is the end of the first half here at Giant Stadium. Not much for the Giant fans to cheer about because the Saints have ruled, but the Giants have come back, and it's 17-10.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Chrysler Plymouth. We're working together to be the best. STP, makers of
Dick Stockton and Dan Deerdorf back at Giant Stadium, where the Saints lead at 17-10 over the favored Giants at halftime. And a big story, of course, has been the turnovers, where the Saints have scored 10 points on 2 interceptions. And I guess, Dan Deerdorf, that as Wellington Maris said, there are no sleepers in the NFL, and the turnovers can really equalize a lot of teams.
Yeah, turnovers always seem to come to the forefront. Emotion can play a big part in it, too, when you've got a mismatch. But more often than not, it ends up being mistakes. The team that makes the fewest mistakes ends up winning. Here, let's take a look at it right here. We're going to start off with the first of Phil Sims' interceptions. I believe this is going to be Dave Waymer, and this is just a pass that, you know, where was it going? I don't know. Only Phil Sims, I think, knows the answer to that.
And that ultimately resulted in a Saint touchdown.
And this time it'll be number 22, Van Jakes, who's just simply working in man coverage, falls off to play the zone and then look at the ball underthrown and behind the intended receiver. And that results in a field goal.
Saints had a 17-0 lead. The Giants came back with 10, and that's where we are right now. And CBS Sports coverage of NFL football will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Subaru. Inexpensive and built to stay that way. IBM. And by RCA.
The New Orleans Saints will be receiving and Raul Alegre with a field goal and a conversion will be kicking off. Ruben Mays to the left and Mel Gray to the right for the Saints. Lights have been on since the early moments here on an overcast afternoon here at Giant Stadium. Ruben Mays at the goal line. Penalty marker down. Ruben Mays still going past the 40-yard line. And Ruben Mays in a foot race is going to go all the way for a score, but a penalty marker was thrown way downfield at the 18-yard line. That's a 100-yard return, but the flag will bring it back.
We're going to get blocking from behind.
Last week, Mel Gray returned 101 yards, and that stuck.
This one, though, definitely coming back. I saw one block from behind, and it was pretty obvious. The one I saw was on number 51, Sam Mills.
Illegal block above the waist on the kick return team, number 51.
That's who it was, Sam Mills.
Sam Mills clearly comes in from behind. Let's take a look at it. I think we're going to see it right here. Watch the block. It's going to be on number 51 of the Giants by number 51 of the Saints. There it is, right in the back. Number 51, Sam Mills. Robbie Jones was the Giant. And boy, that would have been some way to start the second half for the Saints.
Instead, they're on their 10-yard line. First down. Dalton Hilliard off left tackle. Out to the 13-yard line. If you're looking into what the Saints have produced in the second half, it hasn't been that good. They've been outscored to the tune of 37-14. There's Hilliard. As they lined up quickly, and Hilliard gets to the 16.
The Giants wanted the Saints wanted to run an unbalanced line and no huddle in an effort to confuse the New York Giants. Let's take a look at it. Here's the unbalanced line. Look, 4 linemen, count them, to this side, and now they're going to go away from it. And they wanted to run it without a huddle to confuse the New York Giants. It didn't seem to work. More blue shirts than white at the point of attack.
Burke, Reasons, and Banks with the blue shirts. Down goes Wilson at the 5. Andy hit. First sack by the Giants today.
2 linebackers are going to come from the same side of the football. Taylor and Hedden, and Andy Hedden, number 54, is unblocked. Contz, number 70, comes off to pick up Lawrence Taylor, and Andy Hedden has a free run to the quarterback.
Loss of 9, and Brian Hansen, deep in his end zone, will kick. Mark Collins is standing in midfield for the Giants. A good kick. Then Collins back to the 42, loses the helmet, and runs anyway, and gets near midfield. And that took some guts.
What did I say that Bill Parcells told us that he liked most about Mark Collins? He wasn't afraid. He took a hit in the head, though. I'm afraid he hurt himself.
Van Jakes missed the tackle.
Mark Collins went ahead and ran without his helmet, and I think he took a blow to the head. No fair catch. Van Jakes right on top of him. And off comes the helmet. He takes one shot from his own teammates, but then puts his head down and burrows forward. I don't know, Mark. Discretion might have been the better part of valor right there.
He's got the job.
Well, I hope he's just not hurt. He does have the job. It's not often you're going to see toughness like that.
He doesn't have to do that. Collins starting for Elvis Patterson, who has a strained left groin muscle and has not seen any action. Collins, the rookie from Fullerton State.
And he's clearly disoriented. Let's look at it again. We can see exactly where he gets hit. Number 58, I believe, is going to make contact. There's Jack Del Rio right in front of him. And now Glenn Red comes in from the side right there. Oh, right. Helmet to head. Boy, that's tough. That's tough.
Best starting field position for the Giants. Their own 49, trailing 17-10. Phil Simms with Stacy Robinson. And a gain of 23. Watlett and Gibson.
Right across the middle, the New Orleans safeties drop into their very deep zone. The two linebackers came up, and look at the void that creates in the middle for Stacy Robinson.
He was the only Giant wide receiver to catch a pass in the first half. Lee Roussan, penalty markers fly as Roussan gets to the 23-yard line. Bruce Clark was the first man, and Mills also there, and this may be against the Giants.
Holding is indicated.
Offensive holding, number 660, and the down will be repeated.
Left tackle Brad Benson that time.
With the Giant offensive line, you got to do more than just say 6, as every one of the guys up front wears a number in the 60s. I have to say that's very unusual. You normally have a 50 and a couple of 70s sprinkled in there, but they're 63, 61, 65, 67, and getting some notoriety, number 60, Brad Benson.
Two backups, William Roberts and Damian Johnson. First down and 18. Giants back to the 35 of New Orleans. Simms getting pressure. Pass is caught by Solomon Miller. Close to a first down at the 16, 17-yard line, a gain of 19, and it appears to be enough for a first down.
And the key is the Saints blitz. Watch 54 come in, and Bart Oates, the center, picks him up. That blitz means there's man coverage, and it's Dave Waymer working on Solomon Miller. Solomon shook him with the move to the inside. Credit Oates that time, though, with picking up Alvin Tolles and allowing the time for the completion.
Plenty of time in this third quarter remaining, 11 and a half. It's 17-10. Giants first and 10 on the Saints 16, and a flag. Was it Bart Oates?
Cross guys on the offense.
So two penalties on the offensive line, and this drive has not really stalled Phil Simms' march here as they mark it back at the 21.
Boy, one of those scores jumped right out at me. Wasn't it Philadelphia leading 34-0 over the Rams? Wow. You know, Simms and Oates have had their problems. They had the fumble Monday night against the Dallas Cowboys, first game of the year that really cost them. And they had some miscues last year between each other.
Oates played for Jim Mora 3 years in the USFL. First and 15 at the 21. Simms batted down at the line. James Haynes, outside linebacker. Frank Warren in the middle. 11 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Dick Stockton and Dan Deerdorf at Giant Stadium. And a surprising challenge that the Giants are getting today from the upstart New Orleans Saints, who lead it 17-10. But New Orleans led 17-0 at one point, and the Giants trying to come back here. Second and 15 at the 21. Handoff goes nowhere. Inside to Lee Roussan. James Geathers was right there.
I guess he was right there. He almost took the handoff. Lee Roussan, not a chance of going anywhere. If Geathers would have been there a half a step sooner, he might have taken the handoff from Simms.
We told you Joe Morris not played today. The blood disorder has kept him home, and the Giants have also lost wide receiver Lionel Manuel as a sprained knee. 3rd and 16 at the 22. Sims going for Stacy Robinson and a flag. He was held. Dave Waymer again. And that'll be a first down for the Giants. If indeed it is against the Saints.
Illegal contact on the defense, number 44.
Stacy Robinson tries to make a break to the outside. Dave Waymer with the left hand. You see him pull it back there, but too late. He was already spotted. Yeah, Phil Simms thought he might have a touchdown pass. Had to wonder why Robinson wasn't where he should have been. Dave Waymer's left hand was wide.
And with Manuel out of there, a lot of the burden falls more on Stacy Robinson's shoulders, and Waymer with an interception today.
But also 2 interference calls, holding calls, down near his own goal line.
1st and 10 Giants on the Saints 17. Sims quick toss to his tight end, Mark Bavaro, who drags Watford inside the 10-yard line.
Remember when I talked before and we saw Phil Simms talking to Zeke Mowat about not making a blitz adjustment? Watch Mark Bavaro read the blitz and just make his quick break to the outside when he sees the blitz coming. And Simms instantly gets the ball to Bavaro. That's a fine play by a tight end and a veteran quarterback, and we saw Simms talking to Mowat about it in the first half. He didn't make the break.
Bavaro did, and he has his 5th catch of the day for 76 yards. 2nd and 3 at the 10. Roussan up the middle. First down inside the 5. Antonio Gibson and Ricky Jackson were there, and another good block by Maurice Carter.
And an excellent surge, that time by the Giant offensive line. Roussan goes way to the outside before he makes his decision to cut back. But look at the cavity up the middle. It's Ricky Jackson coming in clear from the backside that makes the play.
And a Giant player is being carried in the locker room. It may be Mark Collins. The preliminary is that it is Mark Collins who lost the helmet and continued to run earlier. 1st and goal at the 4. Carson. And there's nothing like hearing the sounds, which Dan Dierdorf knows full well, but a chance for you to hear the sounds of an inside rush near the goal line. Carthen getting close.
From your television, you hear the sound. When you're on the line of scrimmage, you feel the sound. The sound is a real thing. Again now, an opportunity to pull within 1 for the New York Giants.
We'll just identify the ball carrier. Was stopped, and the Giants using Damian Johnson, number 68, an offensive guard in the backfield on the short yardage play.
Could this be a page out of the Refrigerators playbook? Damian Johnson is going to be the lead blocker. A backup guard? Well, I don't know if he was all that effective. Alvin Tolles got underneath Johnson, stopped him at the line of scrimmage.
3rd and goal at the 1. Carson, touchdown. And a flag is down. Penalty marker down. Carson gets in there.
Well, the Saint players are celebrating.
It's against the Giants. Holding, tough place. You can't get any closer than the Giants had it to the 1. Bob Frederick will explain.
Offensive holding, number 63. The down will be repeated. Will be 3rd down.
Carl Nelson at 285, the biggest of the Giant offensive linemen.
Boy, it is tough to hold from the 1-yard line when you're down as low as you can get on a running play. Let's see if we can spot it. Carl Nelson will be the right side of your screen. Well, you see the right arm to the outside as he takes his man down to the inside. Boy, that hurts the Giants.
3rd and 11. 3rd and goal really at the 11. Sim was under pressure from Bruce Clark. Incomplete 4th down, and each team has had a penalty nullify a touchdown this half. Ruben Mays ran 100 yards with a kickoff called back. Carthen's 1-yard plunge was nullified. And Raul Alegre will come in the game, and so the Giants came oh so close to getting 6.
They were in the end zone. Brought back out Carl Nelson with the flag. That time, though, Bruce Clark around the legs of Bill Sims, forcing him to throw the ball away.
This will be a 28-yard attempt. Rutledge holding for Alegre, who was flicked on a 29-yard. And this kick is good. The Giants 17-13 following Alegre's second field goal of the game.
And I think he realizes what this means to make 2 in a row. Hasn't happened around here in a long time. Raul Alegre, quite excited.
And he can come back for next week's game. He'll be kicking off to Ruben Mays and Mel Gray. It'll be Mays at the 5. And the Giants, good coverage all season on kick and punt returns. Stop Mays at the 15. Solomon Miller on the tackle. Well, next Sunday, it all begins with the NFL Today, and then the Vikings, who could be 3-1, go against the Bears, who should be unbeaten.
And we will be there at Soldier Field in Chicago.
One of those NFC Central battles. And the second game of the doubleheader, and this is really a tremendous game.
Dallas Cowboys pay a visit to Mile High Stadium in Denver. John Elway, Danny White, Herschel Walker. What can you ask for?
Tony Dorsett.
First, what you can ask for.
And you'll get him 1st and 10 at the 26, hopefully. Wilson, and a great hit. Gary Reasons on Buford Jordan.
The Giant linebackers are so talented. Gary Reasons, number 55, lined up at left, inside linebacker. The key here is when he realizes it's going to be a short throw. Look how quickly he closes to the ball carrier. The ball and Reasons got to Buford Jordan at exactly the same time.
Giants blessed with depth at every linebacker possession. Andy Hedden has come in for Gary Reasons. Inside, Dalton Hilliard gets a couple and is not quite out to the 20-yard line. Kenny Hill right in the middle of that scrap. It'll be 3rd down. Harry Carson and Jim Burt made the tackle.
Seemed like the whole first quarter was played in Giant territory. Here in the 3rd quarter, it's all in New Orleans territory.
And the Giants have had the ball a little more than 9 minutes more than the Saints, and that's been the Saints' problem all season.
Dick, even if the Saints don't get points, they've got to move the ball at least up the midfield.
3rd and 7 at the 29. 4 wide receivers. Wilson. Incomplete. Eugene Goodlow, the intended receiver, and it's 4th down. And now the Saints and Wilson are frustrated.
Well, Dave Wilson should be frustrated because Eugene frustrated. Goodlow is open. Look at his break to the inside, but the ball way overthrown. That would have been a completion, and that would have been a 1st down if the ball would have been a couple feet lower.
Brian Hansen will kick to a new man, Tony Galbraith, who was a former number 2 draft pick by the Saints and spent 5 years in New Orleans, replacing Mark Collins, who had to be taken off. Hansen at the 5. Giants put the heat on. Galbraith with a fair catch at the 38-yard line. And with 6:06 remaining in the 3rd quarter, the Giants trailing by 4 get it again. 17-13. And next Saturday. It's two top 20 teams here on CBS.
The Iowa Hawkeyes, the Michigan State Spartans. Of course, Lorenzo White, the Heisman Trophy candidate, runs the ball for Michigan State.
Iowa 3-0 on the year. 1st and 10 at the 38. Sims has it tipped in the air. Bruce Clark was in the middle. Don't know if he got a hand on it. And right now, we have an NFL Today report. Brent Musburger has it from New York. Brent?
Dick Tommy Kramer continues to build his stats today. Here's touchdown pass number 6. This one to Mike Mularkey. The record is 7. Joe Kaplash did it for the Vikings back in 1969. Back to Dick.
And Jerry Burns doing a fine job of the Vikings, who are headed for 3-1. Bruce Clark is out of the game. It's 2nd and 10 at the 38 now. Roussan turns the corner and is stopped at the 44-yard line. Picked up 6 on the play. Frank Watlett and Pat Swilling in on the play. Lee Roussan having to start in place of Joe Morris in his first NFL regular season start. Here's what the Giants have done the last time. 4 times they've had the ball.
Score points. That's exactly what they've done. 2 field goals and a touchdown.
3rd and 3 at the 45. Sims facing a safety blitz by Brett Maxey. Throws incomplete for Tony Galbraith. Ricky Jackson covering.
Saints that time blitzed 3 people. Maxey's going to come from here, and both of the inside linebackers are going to come on the blitz. Watch him take the shot from behind. That's Brett Maxey coming from the bottom of the screen. And Sims takes a shot right from behind. And now they've got a punt.
Sean Landeta will do the honors. Kelvin Edwards is back for the Saints. Pointing going on.
And if this is on New Orleans, it's going to be a first down.
It was 4th and 3.
False start. Offensive tackle. They will be returned.
So they'll have to kick it again.
Have there been a lot of penalties in this game, or is this just my imagination?
There have been, and there have been a lot early, too.
And a lot of them have come in critical situations.
13 penalties all told in the game.
6 for New Orleans and 7 for the Giants.
Here's Edwards. Receiving Landeta's kick, but a fine kick by Landeta. Edwards fumbles. And a pile up at the 1. The Saints get it, but they're 99 yards away on a 54-yard punt by Sean Landeta.
I think they're 99 yards and 2.5 feet. That was close to being A, a touchdown for New York, and B, a safety. I want to see exactly where they spot this football. The muffed kick by Edwards. There it comes out again. Look at it play right there for the taking. Boy, a break for New Orleans that they were able to cover the ball.
Good hustle by Greg Lasker, the rookie from Arkansas. Landeta last week had punts of 61 and 55 yards against the Raiders.
And talk about ineffective. New Orleans has run 6 plays here in the second half for a grand total of 1 yard.
Lawrence Taylor quickly all over him. Under 5 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter. 4:50 to be exact. And the Giants with that terrific defense smell blood here. Saints 2nd and 8 on the 3. Clinging to a 17-13 lead. You can almost hear Wilson's call.
wouldn't want to make this call. I guess that's why Jim Mora gets paid to be a coach, but this is a tough call. You're the underdog. You've got a 4-point lead. There are a lot of risks here by being too conservative and just running it into the line and saying we'll punt. Will he throw it or not? Let's find out.
3rd and 7. Incomplete. Intended for Eric Martin. And covering was Elvis Patterson, who's back in the game, did not play.
A rollout by Dave Wilson to get away from the pass rush. He didn't roll far enough. He still took a shot that time by Andy Hedden. But as you can see, overthrew Eric Martin.
Hansen has no room back there, and he'll be kicking to Tony Galbraith. On 4th down. Galbraith on the run, muffs it, and covers up wisely at the 42-yard line. A 39-yard kick, but the Giants will have the ball in Saints territory, trailing 17-13. 3:25 remaining in the 3rd. Saints at one time led 17-0. The Giants have come back with 13 points, and their defense has put them in good field position. 1st and 10 on the New Orleans 42. Bill Sims up the middle. Bavaro started a run before he had it, and it'll be an incompleted pass.
Nick, you didn't leave me anything to say because that's exactly what he did. He started to run before he caught it. One of the oldest coaching hints you can tell a player: don't take your eye off of the ball and look upfield before you put it away. No matter how long you play this game, you still have to go back to the very basics.
2nd and 10 with 3:20 on the clock. Sims complete. Bobby Johnson, and a 1st down for the Giants. An 11-yard pickup. Johnny Poe covering on the play.
The perfect pocket right here by the New York Giants in their offensive line. Look at the throwing alley up the middle for Phil Sims. No problem at all in spotting Johnson on the crossing pattern. A 4-man rush that time by the Saints. Ineffective.
1st and 10 at the 31. Phil Sims last week came alive in the 2nd half after struggling in the 1st half against the Raiders. Roussan and a fine play by Bruce Clark. He'll lose 2 yards on the play.
Things that are important on stopping a running play. Support in the force. Watch the force this time by Antonio Gibson, but it'll be Bruce Clark that comes in and then finishes off the play. Look at Gibson get upfield. He's too far up for Billy Ard to make a good block. He's moved too far up, and then it's Bruce Clark comes in and finishes off the play.
2nd and 12, back at the 33. The blitzers, and Bobby Johnson catches the ball, and his momentum carried him inside the 30. And Frank Watlett and Dave Waymer give him a ride way back.
Bobby Johnson becoming an effective part of the Giant offense on this drive. Here comes the blitz again. You can see number 53, Vaughn Johnson, coming in. But again, the Giant offensive line asserting itself. That time, really the same pattern as before, only this time Johnson crossing to his left rather than running the crossing pattern to the right.
Coming into the game, 2 of his 7 catches were good for touchdowns. He goes out now on 3rd and 7 at the Saints' 28-yard line. Stacey Robinson to the left, Solomon Miller to the right. Galbraith is in there. Sims was in the grass, and they blew the whistle, and it was Ricky Jackson with his 1st sack of the season. He has averaged 11 the last 3 years.
Ricky Jackson, again coming in his 2nd sack of the season. I think this is Jackson lined up right here. He's going to come straight in on the blitz. but he was picked up. He was picked up and beat the block. Boy, that's what really hurts. He beat Carthen on the play. When you got a guy, he's supposed to be there and block him. That's what really hurts.
Loss of 9, and Sean Landeta will be kicking to Eric Martin with a half a minute to play in the third quarter.
I believe we've got to delay a game call.
4th down. Be repeated.
5 yards. Bill Parcells was hoping the Giants would not have to struggle coming into the part of the schedule where he would have the likes of the Saints, the Cardinals, and the Eagles after 3 tough games to start the year.
To tell you the truth, they probably took that penalty on purpose. Have a little more room for Landeta.
Eric Martin, flag. Lasker hit him, and Martin continued to go. And Eric Martin out to the 21-yard line where he's stopped by Robbie Jones. And I don't know how Lasker ever missed that tackle. But there's a flag. Flag on the play. Saints putting in Martin in place of Kelvin Edwards, who fumbled the last punt. Greg Lasker, the rookie from Arkansas.
We've had more conferences today between officials. Whatever it is, it's obviously going against the Saints.
An illegal use of the hand on the kick return team, number 26, and we're penalized half the distance, the yards back there.
Willie Tullis. So the Saints backed up again. They have 5 seconds remaining in this third quarter.
Well, this must seem like all the room in the world now. They're all the way out to the 4-yard line. Last time they were on the 1-foot line. By November, they may be to midfield.
1st and 10 at the 4. Their deepest starting position was the 16 this half. And testing the middle is Buford Jordan, and Lawrence Taylor makes the tackle, and that is the end of the third quarter, where the Saints still lead the Giants, but it's 17-13. Welcome back to Giants Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. This is Dick Stockton along with Dan Deerdorf, and the Giants coming in 2-1 against the Saints 1-2, and perhaps expecting an even easier time of things than they've had, or locked in a tough battle trailing 17-13.
But you have to think that things are going the way of the New York Giants when you look at where this ball game has been played, and Jim Moore is looking towards his own goal line right now. And if you're a defensive-oriented coach like Bill Parcells, you got to love the field position. His defense has pinned New Orleans repeatedly back against their own goal line and has not let them get out.
2nd and 9 at the 5. Brings it out to the 8-yard line. Gary Reasons making the tackle. By Reasons. Let's take a look at field position.
New Orleans here in the second half have been at the 10, the 16, the 1, and the 4. The bottom 4 have been where they've been in the second half. Awful tough to go anywhere when you have to go 90, 85, 99 yards for scores. That's awful hard to do.
3rd and 6. Wilson completes the pass, but shy of a first down to Mike Jones. Herb Welch making the tackle. They're shy by about a yard, and here comes Brian Hansen to punt. Welch saved the first down. Hansen punting for the 6th time, and Tony Galbraith, who took over for the injured Mark Collins. That's off a fine kick. Galbraith at the 35. Van Jakes hits him immediately, and he's down at the 35. A 51-yard kick by Brian Hansen.
And the key right there is not only was it a 51-yard kick, but 0 return for a net 51. Hard to do.
We've been talking about the instant replay and your fans, the fans' opinion. These are the numbers to call if you believed, and here are the results so far. People seem to be in favor of the instant replay system in a revised form. Those are the numbers. 50 cents charge on a call. 1st and 10 at the 36 for Sims. And he finds Stacy Robinson inbounds and a first down at the 48-yard line. Poe and Haynes defending.
Johnny Poe closes to the ball here on Stacy Robinson. Nice job of getting both feet inbounds. And Phil Sims, that was a good toss. Give him credit for that one. Well executed sideline pattern by both men.
Lee Roussan fights his way just into New Orleans territory. Bruce Clark and Antonio Gibson make the tackle. Giants have 6 first downs this second half. The Saints yet to pick up one.
On the stop. 2nd and 8.
Season ticket holder?
A future, I think.
2nd and 8 at midfield. 17-13. The Saints lead the Giants. 4th quarter. Sims intercepted by Gibson, and it was tipped in the air and picked off by Johnny Poe. And the 3rd interception of the game by the Saints. And Johnny Poe has it on his own 45.
3 different Saint ball players touched that football. Let's take a look at it from the end zone. Phil Sims will throw it towards our right. The first Saint right there. Oh, look at the save. Antonio Gibson pops it back up in the air. Johnny Poe, Saints ball.
And we'll return after this word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Miller High Life. Miller made the American way since 1855. And by Oldsmobile. Oldsmobile quality. Feel it at your nearest Olds dealer.
12:38 remaining in the 4th quarter, and the Saints finally have some breathing room as a result of that interception by Johnny Poe. 1st and 10 on their own 45 behind Dave Wilson, leading 17-13. Ruben Mays out of bounds at midfield, and a penalty marker is down.
There's a flag on the field. But while they figure out that, let's see if we can take a look at the interception. The ball thrown by Sims is first going to be hit by number 27 at the bottom of your screen.
Number 34, the defense.
Antonio Gibson there hits the ball, but watch Ricky Jackson keep it alive. He pops it back up in the air behind him, not knowing that Johnny Poe is there, and he comes down with the interception. Pretty good teamwork.
Meantime, Dan, Elvis Patterson was called for a defensive foul, number 34.
Ruben Mays steps out of bounds. It's tough to see what Patterson did right there. Well, I sure didn't see anything from behind.
1st and 10 at the 35. First down this half for the Saints. Another conference. Giants were looking to blitz on that play. They've been doing a lot of that, and it appears to be against the Saints. As we look at scores around the league.
encroachment on the defense.
Not necessarily so. The Saints started to move back to midfield, and now they can go the other way.
Well, the Giants that time were going to come with a blitz. They had 7 or 8 guys up on the line of scrimmage, and someone got too eager. If someone from New Orleans moved, he didn't get caught.
That'll make it 1st and 5 at the 30, and the 10th penalty against the Giants today. Gets a couple, and the tackle by Jim Burt, the nose tackle, and Andy Hedden, the linebacker.
Even if the Saints don't score points on this drive, by virtue of the interception, they finally moved out of the shadow of their own end zone. And how that will come into play in the next 12 minutes certainly has to be a plus for New Orleans. Even if they turn the ball over, the Giants now are still going to have to look at going a long way for a score.
And if the Saints can get into field goal range for Morton Anderson, that would give them a 7-point lead. And they're already in range for him. 2nd and 3 at the 28. Kenny Hill got a hold of him. And Mays is tackled at the 26.5-yard line. Ruben Mays, native of Saskatchewan, Canada, decided to play football instead of hockey.
And he is the back on the Saints squad who really is their only legitimate big play guy. Buford Jordan, Dalton Hilliard are certainly durable backs, but not really, they're not the guys that every time they touch it, they've got the potential to take it all the way. Ruben Mays certainly has that, and I think that's why he's in here at this stage of the game, Dick.
3rd and 1 at the 26. Have recovered. First they ruled it down, and then they signaled Giant ball. And a mix-up in the backfield with Ruben Mays and Dave Wilson.
Let's take a look at it from high above. Mays and Wilson just collide. Now they're calling it dead now. You know, there was some initial confusion even among the officials.
Giant ball, and it was Leonard Marshall who fell on the pigskin. We'll be back. The Giants an opportunity. 11 minutes remaining in the 4th quarter. 17-13 in an afternoon in which Bill Parcells has really had to work to see his Giants overcome an early 17-point deficit. Haven't done it yet. Marshall will recover the fumble, and the Saints have been playing tough.
And Marshall's 3rd fumble recovery of the year.
28-yard line. Sims. 1st down. And down at the 46-yard line. A gain of 18 yards for Phil Sims.
Again, the Saints come with the blitz. Alvin Tolles is going to come and get picked up. And when you bring that many guys and they're blocked, you can see on the other side we've got Sam Mills coming as well. But look at that protection by the Giants. There's just nobody there. When you bring 5, somebody's got to watch the quarterback.
1st and 10 at the 46. Sims has Bavaro. 1st down and more. Yards. Watford on the tackle.
New Orleans defensively unable to put any pressure on Phil Sims. And Alvin Tolles a good 3 steps behind Mark Bavaro. No wonder why, in a crucial situation, Phil Sims turns repeatedly to Mark Bavaro. He seems to be open every time.
He's on pace for a 1,500-yard year. He's caught 6 for 102 today and a touchdown. 1st and 10 at the 28 of the Saints. Sims.
that that ball was anywhere close to being catchable. I think that's why there was no flag. Bavaro could have never come up with that catch.
Bavaro, third straight 100-yard gain. It's 2nd and 10 at the 28. Roussan. And Ricky Jackson gets a hold on his feet. One thing about the Saints defense today, two players who have not played all that well this year have really risen today. Bruce Clark and Ricky Jackson.
We've been calling their numbers a lot. Bruce Clark, the All-American from Penn State, has been a force in this game. We've seen him a couple different times wrapped around Phil Simms, making some big tackles on the running game. And a loss of a couple that time is going to... If you're Phil Simms right now, where's Mark Bavaro?
3rd and 12. Simms got his man, Stacey Robinson, and a first down inside the 15. Gain of 17, Dave Weimer on the stop.
Simms threw that ball exactly the way it should be thrown, low and back, which means that Stacey Robinson has to run back towards his quarterback to make the catch. Look at Robinson. He was moving back upfield. No way that ball could have been picked off. No way it could have been turned over. Good for a first down.
At the 13-yard line. Roussan. Inside the 5. Close to another first down.
Out of the I formation behind the lead block of Carthen. And Roussan, who stumbled initially, goes into a hurdling act right over the top of Alvin Tolles, and that's a fine effort.
And they're going to measure to see whether Roussan has another giant first down.
He almost fell down right at the line of scrimmage without anyone even around him.
Short by that much. Giants threatening to take the lead for the first time. We have 8 minutes and 21 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. It'll be 2nd down and less than a yard at the 4. Reception for Zeke Mowat since the 1984 season.
The key on this play is the agility of Phil Simms. He's going to come out and he has Ricky Jackson right in his face. But look at him take a couple of steps, avoid Jackson, and then find Mowat, who's all alone.
And Bill Parcells. It's been a long afternoon. And the Giants have the lead for the first time. Seconds remain in the fourth quarter. The scoring drive for the Giants as they take a 20-17 lead. We'll see shortly. As Allegre kicks off to Mays in the end zone, a touchback. Sims to Mowat. Welcome back. What a 1-2 combination at tight end. And next Sunday, it'll be the Vikings against the Chicago Bears. Two strong clubs out of the NFC Central. That's the early game. Begins with the NFL Today.
And the second game, Dallas and Denver. One of the best matchups in the early part of the season. The very talented Cowboys, the very, very talented Broncos at Mile High Stadium in Denver.
First and 10 at the 20. Saints trailing for the first time. Dave Wilson. Kick. And almost intercepted by Lawrence Taylor. Make that Carl Banks. But more important, as you can look at Wilson's face, another knockdown.
And it's Lawrence Taylor who gets credit for this knockdown. Starts upfield and then works back to the inside. And boy, he puts the shoulder on Dave Wilson just as he gets rid of the ball. George Martin in there as well. Carl Banks almost had himself an interception, but Lawrence Taylor's playing his best game of the season.
7 unassisted tackles today. Going for Tice, and a couple of Giants almost got a hand on it. That was Taylor, and Kenny Hill as well.
Lawrence Taylor is everywhere this afternoon. He almost makes this pickoff. He just can hardly get to the football. Is he into the game? What do you think?
It used to be if Taylor didn't make the play, it didn't get done. He's got a lot of help now, so a lot of the pressure is off of his shoulders. But he's still there. 3rd and 10 at the 20. 4 wide receivers in there. And Wilson never had a chance.
What happened to the to the New Orleans Saints offensive line? They just disappear. Leonard Marshall's going to be the first guy in here, but look out, it's all over. Nobody even blocks Leonard Marshall. Dave Wilson has to be saying, hey, come on, guys, how about a break?
Hansen will kick, and Marshall has his first full sack of the season. He had 15 and a half last year. Tony Galbraith back for the Giants. And the kick bounces past Galbraith, who loses it. And the Giants have it, but way back at the 27-yard line. What do you think Bill Parcells is going through this afternoon?
I think somebody greased the footballs before the start of the game. Now, Galbraith didn't hit it there. See the official? He did there. And that's a free football. John Tice, the tight end, couldn't cover it up. Boy, it was his for the taking. But the Giants retain possession.
Solomon Miller made the recovery. Tonight on CBS, you'll see an all-new edition of 60 Minutes. Parents as Pushers is a compelling story, followed by the season premiere of Murder, She Wrote. Plus, you'll see Under the Influence, starring Andy Griffith. That's all tonight on CBS. First and 10 Giants at the 27. Roussan. He had gotten away from Dave Waymer, would have been off. Tackled at the 33-yard line, and a penalty mark or an injured player down.
Dave Waymer is still laying. He made the tackle on Roussan, and he's shaken up.
Jim Mora is first time we've seen him show a lot of emotion on the sideline.
Well, he sends Willie Tullis into the game. I guess he was wondering why Tullis had to be told rather than running out on his own.
Busy day for Dave Waymer. He intercepted his 3rd pass of the year, was involved in a couple of pass interference situations. The Saints, with 3 interceptions on the day, have 12. Came in leading the league. Poe and Waymer each with their 3rd today.
We'll see Dave Waymer come in from the left. That's a good tackle on Lee Roussan. Didn't hit his head, though. He Caught him with his right shoulder, but Dave Waymer comes off. He appears to be okay.
We've talked about the Saints' interceptions today, but a key fumble by the Saints when they were in field goal range gave the Giants the ball, and ultimately the drive that gave them the lead, 20-17, with 7 minutes exactly remaining in the fourth quarter.
Part of developing a winning attitude, which New Orleans is desperately trying to do, is learning how to handle a football game when it is your game. And it was the Saints' game early. They had control. It was their game to win or lose. And look what they have done in the second half. Passing-wise, a minus 10 yards. So New Orleans has really gone into a shell here in the second half. They've really got nobody to blame but themselves.
And the Giants, as you look at their bench, their defense got aroused, and I go back to that hit by
Antonio
Gibson on Manuel that sent him out of the game. Sims has Bavaro, who has a first down. And a penalty marker down as well, back at the line of scrimmage.
Brad Benson, an excellent job of open field tackling. Let's see if we can get to the bottom of the screen. No, we're not going to get it. We've got Bavaro coming off of the line, but it's going to come back. Holding against New York. Let's get the call.
Holding on the offense, number 60. Second down will be replayed.
Brad Benson again.
Again. He's had a tough afternoon. I believe that's his third holding call of the day on Brad Benson. Left tackles have had a tough go of it today. Kontz for New Orleans has been flagged repeatedly, and now Benson. I think we watch the open. He's going to inside move that time by James Haynes. There's Benson just dragging him to the ground.
Second down and 15 at the 22-yard line. 6:15 remaining, fourth quarter. Another flag. Might have been the Saints this time as Roussan carries, and he's tackled by Pat Swilling.
And it might have been Pat Swilling that was across the ball.
Swilling, a rookie from Georgia Tech, a defensive end in college, and playing down lineman on certain defenses today for the Saints.
Defense, number 56, offside.
Pat Swilling figures to be a linebacker for New Orleans. But Jim Mora told us that he likes his raw pass rushing abilities. So when they go to a nickel situation, he's going to be the fourth lineman. Of course, that gives him the opportunity of either standing him up or else having him operate from a three-point stance. That's a nice luxury to have an athlete like that on your squad.
And a lot of teams are going that way. Second and 10 at the 27. Sims, wide open, Roussan to the 35-yard line, 2 yards shy of a first down. Brett Maxey and Johnny Poe make the tackle. Clock running, 5.5 to go in the fourth quarter. Giants lead it 20-17. They trailed after one quarter today, 14-0, and then it was 17-0 early in the second.
And a reminder that we're seeing so much of Lee Roussan because Joe Morris is not here today. Experienced a blood disorder because of some medication that he took earlier in the week for his broken nose. And Lee Roussan has gotten the call and I think responded very well.
That he has. 3rd and 2 for the Giants. Roussan responds close to a first down. We may have a measurement as they get it out to the 37. Talk about giant injuries. Lionel Manuel has a sprained knee, and he's not going to be back. And Mark Collins, the rookie cornerback who started today, suffered a concussion. He is stable condition in a New York hospital for observation.
Well, Bob Fredericks says we're not even going to have a measurement. He just says fourth down.
Bill Parcells on the other side is saying, let's take a measurement.
Boy, it's pretty tough to not get a measurement when it's that close. Another conference.
Yeah. He's going to call a fourth down without measuring.
Will be measured.
Well, we were able to fortunately hear Bill Parcells with a few choice words.
I believe that might have been Phil Simms or one of the other.
All right, that was not Bill.
But if I was Bob Fredericks, I'd turn that field mic off.
And it's a first down for the Giants. That's an embarrassment. Pure and simple. It's a first down for the Giants on the 37-yard line.
This has been a tough day for Bob Fredericks and his crew.
The Redskins stay unbeaten, beating tough Seattle. First loss for the Seahawks. Broussard gets to the 40-yard line where Bruce Clark and Alvin Tolles make the tackle as the clock continues to tick. The Chicago Bears playing the Cincinnati Bengals on the road, leading big 44-7. The Vikings doing the same to the Packers. And next Sunday, Dan,
we'll be in Chicago as the Vikings and the Bears play at Soldier Field. The Vikings scoring 42 today, maybe a little tougher against the Bears defense next week.
The Giants will be in St. Louis next week. 2nd and 7 at the 41. Sims, quick toss, Bavaro. First down for the Giants at the 49-yard line, their own 49. Tackled by Gibson and Jackson.
Again, Mark Bavaro finds an opening. Nothing glamorous about this at all. Just get the football and get a first down. Ricky Jackson slow to close on Bavaro, and Mark picks up the first down, but I think you used the term warhorse a little bit earlier. I don't think another word could describe it better. 6 catches last week, 7 today. The emergence of a superstar.
First and 10 at the 49. Both Giant tight ends have caught touchdown passes today. Zeke Mowatt as well. Broussard into the line, and all the Giants want to do is use up that clock. We have 2:41 now in running. Keep in mind the Saints next week will be home at the Superdome against the unbeaten Washington Redskins. And New Orleans, a timeout is called with 2:39 remaining. Giants are trying to use up the clock, and they've been successful. It's been a hard, tough game for them. This was a game they expected to win. It's been a struggle. Next week they're in St. Louis against the troubled Cardinals.
Yeah, and the Cardinals have a game tomorrow night with the Dallas Cowboys, but the Giants, like you say, have held the ball. They've already had it 4 minutes and 37 seconds. Next week, though, it's the Cardinals.
Neil Lomax. And Lomax had a great year a couple of years ago. And this man,
Otis Anderson, working his way well up into the charts, one of the NFL's all-time leading rushers. Their number 1 of a year ago, Freddie Joe Nunn, that time with the sack. The Cardinals and the Giants next week in St. Louis.
And as you mentioned, the Cardinals still have a date with the Dallas Cowboys. So this is supposed to be the soft part of the Giants' schedule coming up with the Saints, Cardinals, and then the Philadelphia Eagles. No one has told Bill Parcells.
Or the Saints. This is still a ball game.
2:39 on the clock, 2nd and 9. Midfield. Broussard. No, check that. Sims on a fake has a first down. Yard gain. Alvin Tolles brings him down, and a big first down for Sims and the Giants.
You think this is a good fake? Watch James Haynes flow down the line of scrimmage and watch his reaction when he realizes that Phil Simms has the football. Whoa! What a fake by Phil Simms, and what a daring call. James Haynes has to go back for his shoes.
And the Saints have called another timeout, leaving them with 1. Phil Simms on a 14-yard run. He earlier had an 18-yard run in this fourth quarter. So he has to be trying to catch his breath on the sideline with everything right now on the Giants side. while we have a moment, want to clarify next week's telecast. In New York, the Giants and Cardinal game at Busch Stadium will be shown to the New York audience. It all starts with the NFL Today, and that will be the only game that the New York viewers will see.
2 minutes and 30 seconds left in this game. Phil Simms with that bootleg catching James Haynes to the inside. Boy, that is really just an excellent call. I really admire a call like that.
And winning teams sometimes do plays like that and execute plays like that in the crunch. Simms gaining 30 yards today. And that's what he's done through the air. By the way, the Redskins, with their victory, makes this game for the Giants really critical because the Giants don't want to fall 2 games behind Washington in the Eastern Division race. But the Redskins play in New Orleans next week. First and 10 at the 37. Roussan. But he uses up a lot of time with that kind of running. Gibson and Ricky Jackson on the tackle. And the clock stops with 2:18 showing.
Gibson and Jackson.
Did New Orleans take a timeout?
If they did, they're out of timeouts. They're out of them.
Boy, now I'm sorry, Dick, but that is that is really a decision that requires a little thought. All you're gaining is 18 seconds. The clock would have stopped in 18 seconds. It's a 2-minute warning, and should New Orleans get the ball back offensively to have no timeouts at all, I might have been tempted to keep that one in the bank.
You got to have one because if the Giants get a field goal, the Saints still have a chance to win it with a touchdown. And so when they get the ball back, even if the Giants were to be held to a field goal, the Saints would need that one timeout to help them. But now with none left, that puts them in a big hole.
Tell you what else it does with no timeouts remaining. After the 2-minute warning, one Giant first down is just about the end of the game.
Cincinnati 7, Cleveland 24.
Well, CBS Sports coverage of the Americas Polo Championship featuring Argentina, which is a perennial power, against an all-star North American squad, will be coming up following the game later today. And preceding that, the NFL Today post-game show with scores and highlights and an update on our instant replay poll. 2nd and 4 for the Giants on the Saints 31. Giants leading 20-17. Roussan trying to spin away, gets to the 29. Bruce Clark and Tony Elliott make the tackle. The Saints have played an outstanding game. And Clark in particular. And we're going to wind down to our 2-minute warning here at Giant Stadium. USFL stars to 2 titles in the last one here at Giant Stadium. Never has lost 2 in a row as a head coach, but that's how much time remains, and he is out of timeout. 3rd and 2 for the Giants on the 29. We've had our 2-minute warning. Close to first down yardage. Had to get to the 27. Frank Watlet and Sam Mills were in on the tackle. And a first down. And Bill Parcells feels this one is history.
Well, that's quite simply because New Orleans, right there as you see, they've got no timeouts remaining. And Lawrence Taylor, what a game he's played today, and you have to admire the Saints for the start of today's ball game, but got awful conservative in half number 2.
1 first down in the second half, that by penalty after 9 first downs in the opening half. And the Giants will just let the clock run down. Well, you've heard of playing hurt. Well, how about winning rough? After last Sunday's victory against the Raiders, Bill Parcells nearly mugged nose tackle Jim Burt.
He's going to grab Burt from behind, and Burt's helmet is going to come down over his nose.
My reaction when it happened was, normally it would have been a swing, but I was so tired that I couldn't swing, but I'm glad I did now as coach, so I'd have gotten a lot of trouble.
He may be more conservative this time, Parcells. That may be the last play. But we have a penalty marker down, so it won't be, with 28 seconds showing. Tough road for the Giants today. They trailed 17-0, but they coolly came back. And a big fumble by the Saints when they could have gotten the field goal, perhaps.
Illegal procedure on the defense. 5-yard penalty.
And the Giant drive paid off in a touchdown pass, Sims to Mowat, and that put them in the lead for good.
A very odd football game, though. A game that there was really no rhythm. There was no continuity to this game at all. We'd see 2 or 3 good plays, then a penalty, a muffed ball, a very, very abstract football game. Tough to get a handle on.
But the good teams win these kind of games.
That's an excellent
penalty
point.
Will be declined, and by rule, with less than 30 seconds to go, the game will end.
A penalty on the defense inside the 30-second clock. Bob Fredericks telling the players it's over and they don't want to leave.
They want to stay out there. And now they start the clock.
But they've reset the 30-second clock so New York doesn't have to run a play.
Coming up, we have more. The NFL Today wrap-up show. The Giants held the ball the last 7 minutes and 16 seconds and had to come from behind today to beat the New Orleans Saints for their 3rd consecutive win. 20-17. The Saints fall to 1-3. And Lee Roussan gained 71 yards and 24 carries in his first regular season NFL start for the ailing Joe Morris. The Giants played most of the game without Lionel Manuel. Mark Collins, the rookie, suffered a concussion. But it was a gritty Giant victory against the team, the Saints, that looked a lot better than their record and their status coming in there.
And in the second half, I think we really have to credit the New York Giants and their defensive football team. When you limit anyone in the National Football League to 0 first downs, New Orleans, granted, had 1 first down, but it was by penalty. So by rights, they held them to no first downs in an entire half of football. That is simply superb defensive play.
And a couple of heroes, Raul Alegre with 2 field goals in his debut, and Mark Bavaro, who went over 100 yards for the 3rd time this season and caught a touchdown pass. So did Zeke Mowat. What a great comeback this game meant symbolically for Zeke Mowat.
And of course, we've heard about William Andrews, but Zeke Mowat, we'll be right back.
Well, welcome those of you who watched the New York Giants come from behind. That was as good a comeback as we had today. They trailed the New Orleans Saints by 17 points. And then the Giants came roaring back. 2 touchdown passes by Phil Simms, and it is 20-17. So those of you who just joined us, how about a quick recap on the scores? We've had a couple of finals that perhaps you're not aware of. Washington Redskins, 19-14 over Seattle. And for the Redskins, they run that record to 4-0. And Steve Largent did tie Harold Carmichael's reception record today with Seattle, 127 straight games with a catch in that one. For Philadelphia, this was the stunner. It is now final. The Eagles under Buddy Ryan have done it. What has Buddy Ryan got on John Robinson? When he was defensive coordinator with the Bears, he shut down Eric Dickerson in the NFC Championship, and he did it again today. 34-20, Steve Bartkowski injured for the Rams that game. Looking at the replay, and I don't want to speculate, I haven't heard from a doctor, but looking at the replay, that could be a very serious knee injury. It could have been ligaments. He really took a slam down low. Cleveland and Detroit, many of you folks watched this one. The Browns holding on. 3 touchdown passes by Eric Hipple in that game. 24-21 our final score. Minnesota 6 touchdown passes by one Tommy Kramer, 42-7, and now, as Will McDonough just told you, the Vikings will play the Chicago Bears twice in the next 3 weeks with San Francisco sandwiched in between. Doesn't get easy, does it? San Francisco goes down into the Orange Bowl, and it's 31-16 in the late going. They have intercepted Dan Marino 4 times in that game, and the last one they took in for a touchdown. This is the same Dan Marino who came to the Meadowlands last week and lit up the New York Jets in that great game that they had over there, which was won by the Jets in overtime. They have taken Marino out, of course, and they have gone with Don Strock. I don't know. What about Don Shula's defense?
Well, that's a really big question mark. They've given up 51 points 2 weeks in a row. Now here the San Francisco 49ers are moving the ball on them. And Shula, of course, is a defensive specialist. Frankly, I don't know what's happened to that defense, Brent, but if anybody can fix it, Shula can.
All right. Well, we've got 3 of the audiences with us right now, and we're going to pick up the Philadelphia Eagle Los Angeles Ram audience. They'll be joining us here momentarily, and we will pause while that team also links up with us. Well, welcome those of you who watch Buddy Ryan's defense do it. I'm sure out in Los Angeles there is nothing but disappointment and also a lot of concern about Steve Bartkowski and his physical condition. There were several shots on the sideline of Jim Everett. He's the rookie out of Purdue whom the Rams acquired from Houston. Not yet ready to step into that lineup, but he may get force-fed soon. Now with the Rams losing, of course, the Atlanta Falcons, they have to pick it up now. They're taking on Tampa Bay. The Buccaneers struck first in that game, incidentally, and they lead Atlanta by a field goal down there. Now, because we have this new audience with us, let's continue along with the scoreboard. 2017, it was Kansas City over Buffalo in that game. Todd Blackledge threw the winning touchdown pass to Paul Kaufman. And you've got to ask yourself, why was Kaufman turned loose by the Green Bay Packers? Pittsburgh and Houston, 16-13, but the Oilers are now driving. They are down to the Steelers' 6-yard line late in the 4th quarter. This has been a dandy. Pittsburgh fighting for its life in that one. Chicago and Cincinnati. It's a different Bear team whenever Jim McMahon steps in at quarterback. He threw a couple of touchdown passes, in fact, making it 3 for the afternoon, and the Bear defense intercepted Boomer Esiason 4 times in that one. Now, these games are underway. The Jets have kicked a field goal against the Colts in the 1st quarter. New England and Denver, the Broncos are up by a field goal in the 1st quarter. San Diego and the Raiders, the Chargers scored on a Dan Fouts pass, but they missed the extra point. Mark Wilson is playing quarterback for the Raiders, and he has been intercepted 1 time in that game. Atlanta, Tampa Bay, and again checking that one, the Buccaneers with an early field goal on the unbeaten Falcons, and they lead it by a score of 3-0. Let me take the Ram fans and the Eagle fans back to the top here and show you the Giants came back. They trailed in this game by 17 points, and they win it 20-17. Washington is now 4-0 with a 19-14 win. In that game, Steve Cox kicked a 57-yard field goal. That's the longest field goal we've had this year, and that is the longest in Washington Redskin history. The Philadelphia Eagles with the big upset, 34-20 over the Los Angeles Rams. Ron Jaworski, incident. We talked about Bartkowski, but Jaworski also suffered a concussion, and we hope that is not a serious injury. Cleveland and Detroit, 24-21. The Browns with the victory over the Lions. Eric Hipple threw 3 touchdown passes for the losers in that game. Speaking of touchdown passes, Tommy Kramer had 6 in this one. Minnesota beats Green Bay, and that final there was 42-7. San Francisco, even with Jeff Kemp replacing Joe Montana, they continue to roll, and they are hot on the heels now of the Atlanta Falcons. So we are going to continue with our NFL Today post-game show, and a reminder that the America's Polo Championships is also coming up. You're going to see the best riders and the best horse flesh in the world from Argentina and North America. And right now we'll take a break, and then we'll return here on our post-game show in just a moment. We welcome our friends from San Francisco to our NFL Today post-game show, sponsored by Miller Lite here on CBS. Another big afternoon for the 49ers. Even with Jeff Kemp, they continue to roll along. I want to update a baseball story because all the division championships have been decided. The Boston Red Sox and John McNamara have done it, 12-3 over Toronto. So it'll be Boston and the California Angels. Let's bring the Greek in here and get a little baseball information. Jimmy, what about Boston and the Angels? Who's the favorite? What's the odds?
Well, the Red Sox will be 8-5 over California, and the Mets will be 8-5 over Houston. But I want to tell you something. They've had all the publicity and the exposure. Both dogs will win.
Oh, the Greek comes out for the underdogs. How about that? I haven't comprehend that. I'll come back in a moment with that. You surprised me there. I want to quickly update another story that we've had here brewing at CBS this afternoon, and that is the instant replay vote that we have been taking for the fans. We have had an enormous response to this. More than 154,000 telephone calls we have received. Overwhelmingly, the fans want instant replay, but the majority want to change. Now, that's who want to keep it in its current form. More than 45,000 called us. 68,000 said, let's keep instant replay, but let's revise it. Let's make it better. So that's 74%, and then 26% said get rid of it completely. And Will McDonough, you've been covering this story all week. Are you surprised by the result that we got from the fans today?
I'm surprised by the amount of people that called in. It's good for the phone company. Jimmy said they made, what, about $70,000, Jimmy, today?
It's up to 77.
Herb, what revisions do you think they can make in it?
Well, I think that the biggest thing would be to clean up the communication between the replay official in the booth and the people down on the field. You know, once you get all those bugs worked out, I think the replay will be very effective.
Jimmy, did you see anything today where they should have used replay? You were watching a lot of games throughout the afternoon. I didn't see anything.
Whatever they called, they did call one, but it was correct.
And they did make the right decision up in the booth. Way to go, replay.
Once in a while, they do it right. But what happened in Miami last week?
Yeah, now, let me change the subject to quarterbacks. And before we get into that, we are going to be welcoming the Chicago Bear audience, and we'll wait till we hook them up to open up the roundtable discussion. Because the Bear audience will be joining us. They went into Cincinnati today, and they were very impressive coming off that Monday night victory. So we're going to pause here and welcome Chicago. Welcome. Those of you who watched the Chicago Bears, they were impressive today, weren't they? A different football team with Jim McMahon back there at quarterback. Did you see Jim on the sideline? I'm sure John Madden had some great lines about him with the ice and the towel over his head. He looked like the Lawrence of Arabia, you know? Why don't we send everybody back down to Cincinnati? We got an interview coming up your way. So let's go back down to Pat Summerall and John Madden.
Shots in the first half, not directly on the shoulder itself, but when I landed, I kind of landed on my right side, but it didn't really affect me that much today. And then in the second half, I got one up under the chin, and I landed on my back, on my right side of my back. So, you know, at that point, it was 31-7, and I figured, you know, I want to make sure I'm ready for next week, and that's the reason I took myself out of the game.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You sure made things happen. You came out there, you said last night you wanted to get some touchdown passes. I thought you were talking about a couple of them.
Well, I wish I had a chance for a couple more, but you know, I had the one interception that's going to haunt me all night. But overall, I thought I threw the ball, you know, well enough to get us a big lead. That's all our defense needs, is to get us a lead, and they play a heck of a lot better.
Jim, what about Walter Payton? The guy is remarkable, but it seems now, as you look at the other two guys, Sanders and Anderson, you got some depth behind Walter.
Well, there's no question that we got some great backs playing behind Wally, but you know, Wally didn't get a whole lot of carries today, but I think the big plays was the main reason. You know, we wanted to get up, go on top early, and we made the big plays, and then, you know, they were so worried about our running game, I think they let the guys run by them.
All right, Jim, good luck to you, and thank you very much. We'll see you soon.
Hey, John, did you wear that tie today or what?
Yeah, I got it on.
All right, we'll see you later.
Okay, thanks.
Let's back to Brent Musburger.
All right. Pat and John, thank you. And, gentlemen, an update on a score. Houston and Pittsburgh have just gone to overtime down there in the state of Texas. They are all evened up, so we'll be keeping up to date with that. Let's show you some highlights of how the Bears did it this afternoon. As you see our overtime score, Steelers 16, Oilers 16. Beautiful mascot down there in the city of Cincinnati. Here's Boomer Esiason. He had a little difficulty here.
Trouble right off the bat, Brent. This ball hits Reggie Phillips, bounces up, and Gary Fitz had picked it off and rambled down to the 3-yard line.
That set up the first touchdown pass by Jim McMahon. Think of beauty here, Irv.
Really is. Willie Gault running in full stride. Really is it's a picture-perfect play.
And he busts it in from 53 yards out. There he is, looking like the Lawrence of Arabia until we made him dress up like he worked for CBS Sports. That look may even have been better there, huh? 44-7. We're going to come back now and update everything that's going on with the Oilers and Steelers are in overtime. We continue with our post-game show, sponsored by... Highlights of key games coming up on our post-game show, but a reminder what's next. The America's Polo Championship. Best horses, best riders in the world. Argentina against North America.
Well, I think we should get a line from the Greek over there. I'm sure he's tuned in on this thing.
Well, you know I'm going to make the United States favored by 1 goal, let's face it.
They played chuckers in that sport, right? All right, let's take a look at what the New Orleans Saints and the Giants did today. This was the best comeback by any team. The Saints went up by 17 on the Giants, and then Phil Simms regrouped. He's lucky to have a ticket there, Irv. And Dave Wilson going to Eric Martin, who makes the catch and goes in for a 63-yard touchdown. That's a fine pass-catch combination, Bruin. Terry Kennard did not turn around in time to see the pass. What was the problem with Phil Simms in the shotgun, Irv?
Well, in contrast, it looked like his receivers had some difficulty connecting with him. You have a lot of option routes. They misread the pattern. He throws the ball short and is picked off by Van Jakes.
And so Simms was talking with the assistant coaches upstairs in the booth. Mark Bavaro's return was big. A 19-yard touchdown reception. He was shaken up in that game. And Jim Moore and the Saints trying to hold on, but it was Zeke Moab who got open here for the winning touchdown as Simms rallies the New York Giants. And Zeke Moab, missing last year because of an injury, came back with a big one. The upset of the day, the Philadelphia Eagles 34-20 over the Los Angeles Rams. And Buddy Ryan's defense did a job. This was a great play right here.
When you get a play like this going, you know, have everything going for you. Keith Byers going to his left, throws a run pass to Mike Quick for a 55-yard touchdown, and it was just starting, Brett.
Boy, the coaches will be saying, remember, Byers is left-handed. But now here's the injury I told you about. See, that looks severe there on Steve Bartkowski. He took some blow down there. Jim Everett, not yet ready, even though he has signed his contract, but he may be in there before the season's over, all right?
Jaworski going to the air, this time hitting his running back, Junior Tuttle-Atassi, who Buddy Ryans affectionately calls Junior Smith.
Yeah, you got him all year long. Tuttle-Atassi, you say that so well. Now, the quarterbacking performance of the day was turned in by Tommy Kramer of the Minnesota Vikings as he threw 6 touchdown passes, 1 shy of the record. And Forrest Gregg and the Packers are now in full retreat, aren't they? And here's his first one.
Boy, quick back. Darren Nelson was drafted by the Vikings because he's quick on answer turf. Look at these moves. Whew. What a scat back. 13-yard touchdown.
You know, Irv, this Hassan Jones is developing into a deep threat here.
Well, they're beginning to get speed up there in Minnesota. You know, here, Jones just opens up, and, of course, Kramer lofts it in there for the 36-yard score.
Now, number 6 came in the second half, and then Kramer sat out the rest of the game. And next Sunday here on CBS, the big one will feature the Vikings against the Chicago Bears early. Kind of an interesting schedule for the Vikings. Twice in the next 3 weeks they have to play Chicago, and yeah, they get a breather in between, all right. The San Francisco 49ers. No thanks to the schedule maker there. And the NFL Today postgame show, sponsored by Miller Lite, continues. Well, let's get you up to date with the games that are in progress. Field goals here. The Jets still lead the Colts by 3. Meanwhile, out in Denver, the Broncos lead the New England Patriots by a field goal. San Diego and the Raiders, the Chargers scored a touchdown, missed the extra point in that game. Atlanta and Tampa Bay. Archer has hit Dixon with a touchdown pass. It is 7-3, the Falcons with the lead. Pittsburgh and Houston are in overtime. The Steelers should win this game. They just had a superb punt return back down to the Oilers' 15-yard line. And we'll continue with our NFL Today postgame show, sponsored by Miller Lite. As we close today, we want to thank everyone who participated in our instant replay poll. A look again at our final tally right now with 154,000 telephone calls. Yes, 30%. Yes, but revise it. Perhaps the USFL method is one that has been suggested. That was 68,000 plus, or 44%. And no, throw it out altogether. 40,000 folks don't like it, or 26%. Coming up next now on CBS, the America's Polo Championship between Argentina and North America. Next Saturday, a reminder, we'll have regional coverage. Many of you will see Iowa, Michigan State. Out west, it'll be Arizona State against UCLA. I'm Brett Musburger for Jimmy the Greek, Irv Cross, and Will McDonough. So long, everybody. Have a nice week.